My name is Mariana, and I'm 40 years old. I work as a medical assistant and have been married for 12 years. My husband, John, and I have 2 kids, Patrick, a 3rd grader, and Katie, a 1st grader. John and I met at my hospital, where he would come to make sales. I was the one who handled his orders. At first, we just had small chats, but when we realized we had mutual friends, we got along really well. After having dinner together a few times, we started dating, and 3 years later, we got married. John is smart, a great communicator, and very charming. He always says that sales is his true calling. Honestly, I didn't think he was my type at first, but after talking to him, I fell in love. Now, 15 years later, I still love spending time with him. Even after the kids are asleep, we can talk for hours without noticing the time. Our kids, Patrick and Katie, are lively and love chatting, just like their dad. We're a typical family, and John helps a lot with household chores. He even enjoys cooking dinner. Tonight, he's making steak, something we're all excited about. John wasn't always a good cook. When we first met, he couldn't cook at all, but over the years, he's improved so much that it amazes me. John started cooking because I've been visiting my mom, who's in the hospital, every evening after work. One day, he told me, "I'll handle dinner and take care of the kids. Don't worry about us, go be with your mom." I was so touched I cried. Now, I do as much as I can in the mornings, like making breakfast and doing chores. Before heading to work, John takes care of everything in the evenings, dinner, the kids, and helping with their homework. My mom has been dealing with a chronic illness for the past 3 years, and she's been in and out of the hospital. Lately, her condition hasn't been great, so I visit her every day to stay close to her. I lost my dad in an accident when I was little, so it was just me and my mom growing up. She worked in the same medical office as me and was very smart. She also earned extra income through stock investments and even bought a large apartment for us. Thanks to her hard work, I was able to attend private schools and grow up without financial worries. Whenever she's discharged from the hospital, I beg her to come live with us, but she always says, "I'm fine, Mariana, you worry too much." She's still independent, but I can't help but check on her daily. During the day, my Aunt Michelle helps out. She's single and runs a small restaurant. Aunt Michelle has been like a second mother to me. She cared for me when I was little and gave me a place to cool off when I fought with my mom as a teenager. Aunt Michelle's food is amazing, and her restaurant has had loyal customers since I was a kid. Even now, my family loves eating there. One night, after visiting my mom, I came home late. To my surprise, my mother-in-law was still at our house, relaxing with the kids in the living room. "Mariana, welcome back. Were you visiting your mom at the hospital again? You must be tired after such a long day," said Rachel, my mother-in-law. Her house is only a 5-minute drive from ours. Rachel isn't mean to me, but she can be very stubborn. When she makes a decision, she insists on doing things her way. Usually, when Rachel comes to our house, it's because she wants money. My father-in-law, Craig, still works hard, but Rachel has been asking us for $500 every month to cover her living expenses. Recently, though, she's been coming over more often to ask for extra money, saying she's struggling. Today, she said she came to visit the kids, but I suspected she actually needed money. Once the kids were asleep, Rachel told me, "I'm short on money again this month. Can you give me a little more?" John, my husband, got upset. "Again this month? We've been giving you money every month. My dad is still working, so what are you spending all that money on?" Rachel didn't back down. "Don't be angry," she said. "I'm getting older, and I have hospital bills. You want me to stop going to the hospital? Your dad's salary is going down because of the recession." This argument happens every time, but Rachel always makes an excuse and won't leave until we give her the money. I calmed John down and gave Rachel $200 I had in my wallet. After she took the money, John went to take a bath, so I walked Rachel to the door. "Thank you, Mariana, you're always so helpful," Rachel said. Then she asked, "By the way, how is your mom?" It was the first time Rachel had asked me about my mom, and I wondered why, since she rarely visited her. Still, I replied, "Well, she's still the same. The doctors say she'll be in the hospital for a while." I answered her question, but then Rachel said something that shocked me. "Well, what will happen to your inheritance?" she asked, without any hesitation. I was surprised and replied, "What inheritance? What do you mean?" Rachel explained, "I was just wondering if you've talked to your mom about this. Your mom has a sister, right? It's good to talk about it now, before it's too late. After your mom passes, you wouldn't want problems with your aunt over the inheritance, would you? Her words made me angry, so I answered, "Don't worry, my aunt and I won't have any problems like that." A few weeks later, John came home in a panic after taking the kids to his parents' house for a holiday. "Mariana, my mother bought a mansion near your work," he said. "Near my work? A mansion?" I was shocked. "Yes, it's still under construction," John replied. Since we lived in the countryside, this mansion stood out. We had often wondered who could afford to live there. "Where did she get that kind of money?" I asked in surprise. "I don't know," I asked her, but she wouldn't answer. "Maybe she's using my dad's retirement money," John said. "Wait a minute, if Rachel is buying a mansion, does that mean we don't need to give her any more money for living expenses?" I asked. "Exactly, if she can afford a mansion, then she should be able to handle her living expenses too," John said, frustrated. We were angry because we had been giving Rachel money, thinking she needed it, but now it seemed like she had plenty of money for a mansion. John and I decided we wouldn't give her any more money, no matter what excuses she made in the future. We learned that Rachel's mortgage for the mansion had been approved and it would be ready in 6 months. She told John she was excited to live there in her old age. 1 month later, my mother passed away. I was shocked, because she seemed healthy when I visited her the day before. It was a blessing in disguise when I got a call at work that my mom was in critical condition. I rushed to the hospital and was with her during her final moments. She passed away shortly after I arrived. "Maybe she was waiting for you, Mariana," Aunt Michelle said as I cried. The wake and funeral took more time and energy than I expected, so I didn't have much time to grieve. After the funeral, I felt completely drained, and my children comforted me. Afterward, I spent the day cleaning my mother's house with Aunt Michelle. As I found old memories, I couldn't help but cry. During this time, John helped with everything, house chores and taking care of the kids. He was also busy with work, but I was so grateful for his support. Patrick and Katie were so sweet. Patrick told me funny stories from school to cheer me up, and Katie showed me her A+ test result to make me happy. Though I cried a lot after my mom passed away, John, Patrick, Katie, and Aunt Michelle supported me through it all. Then, 3 days after the funeral, I returned home from cleaning up my mom's house and found Rachel at our door again. As soon as I walked in the door, Rachel quickly asked, "When will you get the deposit? The payment is due soon." "Deposit? Payment? What are you talking about?" I asked, confused. "I mean your inheritance. You must have gotten a lot of money, right?" "Inheritance? I gave up my inheritance," I replied. "What? Are you serious?" Rachel exclaimed, her voice loud enough to echo in the house. After my mother passed away, I learned that her inheritance was nearly $2 million. She had told me that she wanted me and my aunt to split it evenly. But my mother often talked about my aunt. She would say things like, "If anything happens to me, please take care of Michelle. I hope Michelle can use my inheritance to fix up her restaurant." "Oh, Mom, don't talk like that," I would reply, trying to lighten the mood. Even the day before she passed away, my mother was worried about my aunt's restaurant. "Are there any customers coming to Michelle's place? She said the air conditioning is broken again, and I'm concerned," my mother said. Aunt Michelle's restaurant had been around for a long time, even before I was born, and it was showing its age. My mother had offered many times to help renovate it, but Aunt Michelle always turned her down. She didn't want to take my mother's money, and she didn't want to stop working while the restaurant was being renovated. Aunt Michelle had been able to keep the restaurant running, but it was getting old, and repairs were becoming more and more expensive. She often mentioned that while her regular customers still came, it was hard to attract new ones because of the restaurant's worn-down appearance. Since I'd been a regular customer for many years, I wanted Aunt Michelle to keep the restaurant going. She had always put work before herself, even if it meant cutting back on her own living expenses. She lived on the second floor of the restaurant and lived very frugally. I worried about her every time I visited. The cost of ingredients had gone up, but Aunt Michelle never raised her prices for the customers. John and I both work, and while we're not rich, we're not struggling either, even if I had received a large sum of money. I didn't need the inheritance, so I wanted to give it all to Aunt Michelle. At first, Aunt Michelle refused, but when I told her that my mother had been worried about her even the day before she passed away, she agreed to accept it. I talked to John about it, and he was supportive of my decision. We had both enjoyed going to Aunt Michelle's restaurant since we were dating, and we always wished she had more customers. When I told Rachel that I had given up my inheritance, she got angry. "What? Why would you do that without asking me? How am I supposed to pay for my mansion?" she yelled. "Your mansion? I thought you already paid for it," John asked, confused. Rachel replied firmly, "The down payment is due in a week. I've been waiting for your inheritance to come through." I was furious when I heard Rachel say she had been counting on my mother's inheritance to buy the mansion. "What did you just say? Don't insult my mother. Even if we did get the inheritance, why should I use it to pay for your mansion?" I shouted. I had never spoken so firmly to Rachel before, and I was so angry that I started crying. "Of course, you should pay for my mansion. You were so desperate for your mother's inheritance that you spent all your time with her, leaving your own family behind, didn't you?" Rachel retorted. "That's a terrible thing to say. I never thought that. My mother never wanted this. Please leave," I said, upset. I had only been worried about my mother, and I never discussed inheritance with her. All I wanted was for my mother to live as long as possible. Rachel's request for money had nothing to do with my mother's legacy. "Mom, that's just rude," John shouted. "Mariana didn't think like that at all. What did you do for Mariana's mother? You hardly visited her. I'm really disappointed in you. Please leave. We won't be giving you any more money." After John said this firmly, Rachel responded angrily, "You two are horrible children. I'm leaving." And with that, Rachel left our home. Afterward, John apologized to me. "I'm sorry about my mother. I didn't know she was thinking like this. Don't worry about her," he said. Later, John told me that because of Rachel's age, she had agreed to a shorter mortgage term and a higher down payment. From that day on, Rachel contacted John every day, trying to get money from him, but he refused to give her any. Since Rachel kept asking for money, John decided to talk to his father, Jeff, about it. Jeff and Rachel came over to apologize. Jeff didn't know what was going on. He knew Rachel and he were buying the mansion, but he thought they would pay for it with their savings. He had no idea that John and I had been giving Rachel money for living expenses, or that Rachel had been asking for even more. I was surprised when Jeff told me that Rachel had said she would help with the housework while I was visiting my mother in the hospital, but she never did. Jeff explained that he had left money under Rachel's care, but it turned out she hadn't saved nearly as much as he thought. When Jeff asked Rachel about it, she admitted she had made some bad investments and lost a lot of money. Jeff apologized to both John and me. "Mariana, I'm sorry for my wife's behavior. She made a terrible mistake. We will take care of the mansion's payment, so please don't worry about it. We will also make sure she pays back the money you've given her, even if it takes time." "Rachel, apologize to them too," Jeff said. Rachel apologized quietly, unlike before. "I understand. If you've apologized, it's fine," I said, feeling relieved to see my mother-in-law acting more humble. In the end, Rachel couldn't afford the down payment for the mansion. She tried to get a loan, but it was denied. Since Rachel had already planned to move out and didn't have a place to stay, she and Jeff decided to move into a smaller apartment with lower rent. Rachel, who had never worked before, started working part-time to pay us back. I took my family to Aunt Michelle's restaurant for dinner. Aunt Michelle told us that there was land available nearby, and she planned to build a new restaurant there. "I won't renovate my old place, but I'll build a new restaurant so my regular customers can keep coming," she said happily. She let us try some of the new dishes she was planning to serve at the new restaurant. Afterward, Aunt Michelle decided to move into the house where my mother used to live. "The new restaurant will be ready in a year, and we can't wait. Thank you so much. If anything happens to you, I'll be here for you. You can always count on me," Aunt Michelle said seriously. Her cooking is always delicious, just like when I was a child. Katie and Patrick both love it, and they are very happy. I believe my mother is watching over us from heaven as we enjoy Aunt Michelle's food together, happy as a family.
The crystal champagne flute shattered in my father's grip, sending shards and expensive bubbles across our mahogany dining table. My 30th birthday dinner had just transformed into a nightmare. I'm Blair, and this was supposed to be my milestone celebration. Instead, my mother Charlotte chose this moment to present me with an envelope containing what she claimed was evidence of my theft from the family business. The accusation hung in the air like poison. "Explain this," my father Harold demanded, his face turning that dangerous shade of red I'd grown to fear since childhood. He thrust the papers toward me, his hands trembling with rage. "I don't understand," I said, scanning the documents. They showed wire transfers, account statements, and a series of transactions I'd never seen before. These aren't mine. I've never... Don't lie to me! Harold slammed his fist on the table, making everyone jump. My sister Lindsay grabbed my hand under the table, squeezing it tight. Harold, darling, please calm down, my mother said, her voice dripping with fake concern. I'm sure Blair can explain why she's been siphoning money into offshore accounts. I looked into my mother's eyes and saw something I'd never noticed before, a glint of satisfaction. That's when I knew. This was no mistake. This was calculated. This is insane, I said, standing up. I haven't stolen anything. Someone's setting me up. The evidence is quite clear, Charlotte sighed, touching my father's arm. I didn't want to believe it either, but the numbers don't lie. Nearly $2 million, Blair. What were you thinking? Lindsay gasped beside me. $2 million? I've already spoken with the board, Harold growled. You have 24 hours to confess and return the money, or you're not only fired, you're out of this family. Dad, please. No. He stood up, towering over me. I've given you everything. A position in the company, trust, responsibility, and this is how you repay me? I looked around the table at the faces I'd known all my life. My father, veins pulsing in his neck. Lindsay, tears streaming down her cheeks. And my mother, wearing that perfect mask of concern that didn't quite reach her eyes. I didn't do this, I said firmly, and I can prove it. Charlotte's expression flickered for just a moment, so brief I almost missed it, but it was there. Fear. There's nothing to prove, she said quickly. The evidence is conclusive. Then you won't mind if I hire my own forensic accountant to review everything? I challenged, watching her carefully. Every transaction, every document, every signature? That won't be necessary, Charlotte cut in. We've already had everything verified. By whom? I demanded. Enough? Harold roared. 24 hours, Blair. Not a minute more. I grabbed my purse and stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. You want the truth, Dad? Ask your wife where she was last Tuesday between 2 and 4 p.m. Ask her about the safety deposit box at First National. Ask her why she's so desperate to push me out of the company right now. Charlotte's face went white. Bull's eye. Get out, Harold said, his voice deadly quiet. Get out of my house. I walked to the door, then turned back one last time. Happy birthday to me, right? Don't worry, Mom. I'll make sure this is a celebration you'll never forget. The heavy front door slammed behind me with satisfying force. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I'd hoped I'd never have to use. Ricky, it's Blair. Remember that favor you owe me? I need it now, and I need you to connect me with Emerson Fox. I got into my car and started the engine, my mind racing. My mother thought she was so clever, but she'd made one crucial mistake. She didn't know about the photos I'd taken last week or the conversations I'd recorded. She had no idea I'd been watching her for months, gathering evidence of her own schemes. She wanted to play games? Fine. But she'd forgotten who taught me how to play. As I pulled away from the mansion I'd grown up in, my phone buzzed with a text from Lindsay. What's really going on? I typed back quickly, truth time, sis, but not over text. Meet me tomorrow at the Blue Room, 10 a.m. Come alone. The city lights blurred as I drove, my mother's satisfied smirk burning in my memory. She thought she'd won, thought she'd finally found a way to push me out and take complete control. But she had no idea what was coming. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with proof. And I had plenty of that. The Blue Room was nearly empty when Lindsay walked in, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floor. She looked like she hadn't slept, dark circles visible even under carefully applied concealer. You look terrible, I said as she slid into the booth across from me. Yeah, well, watching our family implode will do that. She grabbed my untouched coffee and took a long sip. Start talking, Blair. What did you mean about Mom and the safety deposit box? I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo. This is Mom entering First National last Tuesday. Notice the timestamp, 2:15 p.m. She told Dad she was at her charity board meeting. That doesn't prove anything, Lindsay said, but I could hear the uncertainty in her voice. No? How about this? I swiped to the next photo. Here she is meeting with James from accounting, the same James who verified those transactions in my name. Lindsay's hands started trembling. Blair, if you're suggesting what I think you're suggesting, Mom's been planning this for months, I said, keeping my voice low. Remember when Dad had that health scare last year? She's been positioning herself ever since, trying to gain more control of the company. I'm the only thing standing in her way. But why? Dad gave her everything she wanted. I laughed bitterly. Not everything. She wants to sell the company. Dad would never agree to that. It's his legacy. But with me discredited and you already focused on your own career, she could convince him to retire, Lindsay finished, realization dawning on her face. Oh God, Blair. The waitress appeared with fresh coffee, and we fell silent until she left. There's more, I said, pulling out a small recorder. Listen to this. Charlotte's voice filled our quiet corner. James, I need those documents modified exactly as we discussed. Blair's signature needs to be perfect. Yes, the payment will be made as agreed. No one will ever know. Lindsay's face went pale. When did you record this? Last week. I've been watching her ever since I overheard her talking about handling the Blair situation on the phone. Why didn't you tell Dad? Would he have believed me? I asked. You know how he is with her. She's got him wrapped around her finger. The cafe door chimed, and I looked up to see my father walking in. My heart stopped. Speaking of the devil, I muttered. Harold spotted us and strode over, his face set in hard lines. Lindsay, go home. Dad, wait. Now. Lindsay shot me an apologetic look and squeezed my hand before leaving. Harold took her place in the booth. You've got some nerve, he said, trying to turn your sister against your mother. I'm not turning anyone against anyone, I replied. I'm just showing her the truth. The same truth I'm going to show you if you'll listen. The only truth I need to see was in those documents last night. Those documents are fake, Dad. Mom orchestrated this whole thing. His face reddened. Watch yourself, Blair. That's your mother you're talking about. Yes, my mother who's trying to frame me for embezzlement so she can push me out and convince you to sell the company. That got his attention. What did you say? You heard me. Why do you think she's been meeting with Vernon Industries? Those weren't charity lunches, Dad. They were acquisition talks. You're lying, he said, but there was a flicker of doubt in his eyes. I pulled out the photos and the recorder. Am I? Take these. Listen to them. Look at the evidence yourself, but do it privately, where she can't explain it away. He stared at the items for a long moment before slowly taking them. If you're wrong about this, he warned. I'm not, but if I am, I'll sign a confession and walk away from everything. You have my word. Harold stood up, tucking the evidence into his jacket pocket. 24 hours, Blair. That hasn't changed. One more thing, I called as he turned to leave. Check Mom's calendar for next Tuesday. She has another meeting scheduled with Vernon Industries. Might want to show up unannounced. He left without responding, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. The seed of doubt was planted. My phone buzzed with a text from Ricky. Meeting set with Emerson. 2 p.m. today. His office. I smiled. Emerson Fox had been my father's business partner for 30 years. He also had his own history with my mother, one she thought nobody knew about. If anyone could help me expose the truth, it would be him. I left enough cash on the table to cover both coffees and headed for the door. As I stepped outside, another text came through, this one from an unknown number. Back off while you still can. Some secrets should stay buried. I screenshot the message and saved it to my evidence folder. Mom was getting nervous. Good. Time to pay Emerson a visit and show him exactly what Charlotte had been up to. After all, he deserved to know how she was planning to sell off the company he'd helped build. Let the games begin. Emerson's corner office hadn't changed in 20 years. Same leather chairs, same view of the city skyline, same smell of expensive cigars. He stood as I entered, his silver hair catching the afternoon light. Blair, he said, gesturing to a chair. I must admit, I was surprised to get your message. Not as surprised as I was to find these, I replied, sliding a manila envelope across his desk. He opened it slowly, his expression changing as he examined the contents. Photos of my mother leaving Vernon Industries, copies of emails discussing company valuations, and a draft purchase agreement with his name conspicuously absent. Where did you get these? His voice was carefully neutral. Does it matter? They're real, and you know it. I leaned forward. She's planning to cut you out, Emerson, just like she's trying to cut me out. He sat back, rubbing his temples. Your mother always was ambitious. That's one word for it. I have another, criminal. Those are dangerous accusations, Blair. So is falsifying documents to frame your daughter for embezzlement. I pulled out my phone and played the recording of Charlotte and James. Emerson's face darkened with each word. Damn it, Charlotte, he muttered. Then louder, what do you want from me? The truth. About everything, including what happened between you and my mother 15 years ago. His head snapped up. How do you... I found the letters, I said, hidden in that old filing cabinet in the basement. Very passionate stuff, Emerson. Does Dad know? That was a long time ago, he said quietly. A mistake. A mistake she's been holding over your head ever since, right? That's why you've looked the other way while she's been making these backdoor deals. He stood up abruptly, walking to the window. Your father is my best friend. Then help me save his company. Help me stop her before she destroys everything he's built. The intercom buzzed. Mr. Fox, Mrs. Mitchell is here to see you. Emerson and I locked eyes. He pressed the intercom button. Send her in. Hide, he hissed at me, pointing to the adjacent conference room. I slipped inside just as my mother's voice filled the office. Emerson, darling, we need to talk about Blair. Yes, we do. His voice was cold. Sit down, Charlotte. Through the crack in the door, I watched my mother settle gracefully into a chair. She's making wild accusations, trying to turn everyone against me. You haven't heard from her, have you? Would it matter if I had? Of course it would. She's unstable, Emerson. The stress of the company, the pressure, it's affected her judgment. These delusions about me trying to sell the company. Like these delusions? He dropped the Vernon Industries documents on the desk. Charlotte's composure cracked for just a second. Where did you get those? Does it matter? They're real, aren't they? Emerson, please. You know how Harold is about the company. He'll never agree to sell, even though it's the smart move. Sometimes we have to guide people to the right decision. By framing your daughter for embezzlement? She laughed, but it sounded hollow. Is that what Blair told you? And you believed her? Remember who knows your secrets, Emerson. Remember what's at stake. Are you threatening me, Charlotte? I'm reminding you where your loyalties should lie. She stood up, smoothing her skirt. Don't make me an enemy, Emerson. You won't like the consequences. After she left, I emerged from the conference room. Emerson looked years older. Well, I said, that was illuminating. She'll destroy us all, he muttered. Not if we stop her first. I sat down across from him. I need access to the company's financial records. All of them, going back 5 years. That's impossible without board approval, unless the request comes from a board member. I raised my eyebrows meaningfully. He stared at me for a long moment. If I do this, there's no going back. Your mother will know exactly who helped you. She's already threatening you, Emerson. What more can she do? He opened his desk drawer and pulled out a security badge. Level 10 access. It'll get you into the records room after hours. But Blair? He caught my arm as I reached for the badge. Be careful. Your mother isn't the only one with secrets in those files. I took the badge, tucking it into my pocket. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This could end badly for all of us. As I turned to leave, he called out, Blair, for what it's worth, I'm sorry about everything. I nodded and left his office, my mind already racing with plans. Tonight, I'd get the proof I needed, but first I had to call Ricky. If I was going to break into the company records room, I'd need his expertise in digital security. My phone buzzed with another text from the unknown number. You're playing a dangerous game. Ask Emerson what really happened the night of the merger. I smiled. Finally, a real lead. Time to find out what other skeletons were hiding in the family closet. You know this is insane, right? Ricky's voice crackled through my earpiece as I swiped Emerson's badge at the records room door. It was 11 p.m. and the office floor was deserted. Less talking, more hacking, I whispered. Are you into the security system? Almost there. Cameras are on loop. You've got 30 minutes before the system resets. The door clicked open and I slipped inside. Rows of filing cabinets lined the walls, with a computer terminal in the center. Okay, I'm in. Talk me through this. Boot up the terminal, I'll remote in and bypass the login. I followed his instructions, watching as the screen came to life and codes scrolled past. How did you get so good at this stuff anyway? Let's just say my previous job wasn't entirely legal. Found it, accessing files from the merger period now. Documents started populating the screen. Financial reports, board meeting minutes, and... Wait, stop, go back to that email thread. My heart pounded as I read the exchange between my mother and the Vernon Industries CEO from 5 years ago. Ricky, are you seeing this? Holy shit, he breathed. They've been planning this takeover for years. And look who else was copied on these emails. James from accounting. He's been helping her cook the book since before Dad's health scare. Blair, there's something else. Check the attachment on that last email. I clicked it open and froze. It was a photograph of Emerson with a woman who wasn't his wife, dated just weeks before the original merger. The email text was simple. Insurance policy. Keep this safe. She's been blackmailing him, I said. That's how she kept him quiet all these years. Suddenly, the lights flicked on. I spun around to find Lindsay standing in the doorway, her face pale. What are you doing here? I hissed. Following you, she said, stepping inside. Blair, you need to stop this. Ricky, I'll call you back, I said, pulling out my earpiece. Mom knows what you're doing, Lindsay continued. She's furious. She said she'll press charges if you don't back off. Let her try. I gestured to the screen. Look at this, Lindsay. Look what she's been doing. She approached hesitantly, scanning the emails. Her hand flew to her mouth. That's not... She wouldn't... She did. She's been playing everyone for years. Dad, Emerson, us. We're all just pieces in her game. But why? We have everything we could want. Because everything isn't enough for her. She wants control. Complete control. Lindsay sank into a chair. What are you going to do? First, I'm going to copy all of this. I plugged in a USB drive. Then I'm going to... The computer screen suddenly went black. No. I frantically pressed keys. What happened? Someone remotely shut it down. I grabbed the USB drive. How much did it copy? Blair. Lindsay's voice shook. Your phone. I looked at my screen to find a new message. Nice try. Check your email. My inbox loaded to reveal dozens of photos. Me breaking into the records room, accessing files, copying data. The subject line read, Corporate espionage is a serious crime. She knew, I whispered. She knew I'd come here. We need to leave, now. Lindsay pulled my arm. Wait. I ran to the filing cabinets, yanking open drawers. There has to be hard copies. Blair, please. Found it. I pulled out a thick folder labeled Merger Documents, Original. Inside was everything. The real agreements, undoctored financial statements, and... What's that? Lindsay pointed to a sealed envelope that had fallen to the floor. I picked it up. The handwriting on the front was familiar. Dad's. It was dated the day before his health scare, addressed to Emerson. Take it, Lindsay urged. We can read it later. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. We killed the lights and pressed ourselves against the wall as a security guard walked past, his flashlight beam sweeping the room through the window. Once he passed, we slipped out and ran to the emergency stairs. We didn't stop until we reached my car in the parking garage. What the hell do we do now? Lindsay asked, breathing hard. Now? I pulled out my phone and dialed. Now we talk to Dad's lawyer. Violet needs to see this. Blair. Lindsay grabbed my hand. I'm sorry I didn't believe you before, about Mom. It's okay, but Lindsay, I met her eyes. This gets worse before it gets better. Are you with me? She nodded slowly. I'm with you. My phone buzzed again. Last warning. Back off or tomorrow's board meeting will be very uncomfortable for everyone, especially Harold. I started the car, my mind racing. The board meeting, of course. That's when she planned to make her move. We've got 12 hours, I told Lindsay. Time to see what's in Dad's letter. As we pulled away, I caught a glimpse of movement in my rearview mirror, a figure watching from the shadows. The game was changing, and tomorrow would decide everything. Violet's home office smelled like old books and expensive perfume. At 6 a.m., she looked impossibly put together in a crisp suit, reading Dad's letter with narrowed eyes. This changes everything, she said finally, placing the letter on her desk. How bad is it? I asked. Your father knew. She tapped the paper. He knew about the planned takeover, about Charlotte's manipulation, everything. He was gathering evidence before his health scare. Lindsay gasped. Are you saying Mom was responsible for Dad's heart attack? The letter suggests she may have been tampering with his medication. Violet's voice was grim. Harold suspected but couldn't prove it. That's why he wrote to Emerson. Insurance, in case anything happened to him. My hands shook with rage. She tried to kill him. And now she's trying to destroy you, Violet said. The board meeting is in 5 hours. What's your plan? I pulled out the folder from the records room. We have proof of her dealings with Vernon Industries, evidence of cooking the books, and now this letter. It's enough to stop her. It's enough to put her in prison, Violet corrected. But timing is crucial. Charlotte will expect you to make a move at the meeting. Then we'll make our move before. I turned to Lindsay. Call Dad. Tell him to meet us at Violet's office in an hour. It's time he knew everything. Lindsay stepped out to make the call. Violet leaned forward. Blair, there's something else you should know. Your mother came to see me yesterday. What did she want? To draft new company bylaws. Ones that would give her full control if Harold becomes incapacitated again. My blood ran cold. She's planning something for today. Almost certainly. Violet opened her laptop, which is why I took the liberty of contacting some old friends at the SEC. They're very interested in these financial discrepancies. Lindsay burst back in, face pale. Dad's not answering. I called the house. The housekeeper says Mom took him to the hospital an hour ago. Something about chest pains. No, I breathed. Not again. I grabbed my purse. Violet, go, she said. I'll handle the board meeting delay. Just get to your father. We raced to the hospital, breaking every speed limit. In the elevator, my phone buzzed with a message. Too late, darling. Should have backed off when you had the chance. The ICU waiting room was empty except for my mother, who looked up with perfectly feigned concern. Oh, girls, thank goodness you're here. What did you do? I snarled. Blair. She stood up, affronted. Your father had another episode. Thank God I was there to call the ambulance. Like you were there last time? I stepped closer. What was it this time, Mom? More medication tampering? Her eyes flickered to Lindsay, then back to me. You're hysterical. The stress is clearly affecting you. Mrs. Mitchell? A doctor approached. Your husband is asking for you. Of course. She smiled sweetly. Girls, wait here. Family only for now. We are family, Lindsay snapped. The board meeting starts in 4 hours. Charlotte reminded me softly. Such a shame you'll miss it, waiting here at the hospital. I'll be sure to express your regrets. As she turned to follow the doctor, I grabbed her arm. This isn't over. Oh, sweetheart. She patted my cheek. It was over before it began. The moment she disappeared down the hall, I pulled out my phone. Ricky, I need you to hack the hospital security cameras. Right now. On it, he said. What am I looking for? My mother, anywhere near my father's room or the pharmacy in the last hour. Lindsay paced nervously. Blair, what if she really does something to him? She won't, I said more confidently than I felt. She needs him alive to maintain control. This is just to keep us away from the board meeting. My phone buzzed. Emerson calling. Tell me you got my message, he said when I answered. What message? The board meeting. Charlotte changed the venue. It's happening at Vernon Industries in 30 minutes. What? That's not possible. It's 4 hours early. She called an emergency session. Blair, they're voting on the sale right now. I looked at Lindsay, who nodded. Go, I'll stay with Dad. Send me the address, I told Emerson. And Emerson, stall them, whatever it takes. I ran for the elevator, dialing Violet as I went. Meet me at Vernon Industries. Bring everything. It's happening now. Racing through traffic, I called Ricky again. Tell me you found something. Better, he said. I found the pharmacy tech she bribed. He's willing to talk. Send his statement to Violet. Another text flashed on my screen. Running out of time, Blair. Just like Daddy. I gripped the steering wheel harder. Mom thought she had all the pieces in place, but she'd forgotten one thing. I had nothing left to lose. The Vernon Industries building loomed ahead, its glass towers reflecting the morning sun. Somewhere in there, my mother was about to destroy everything my father had built. Not if I could help it. The Vernon Industries security guard tried to stop me, but Emerson was already waiting in the lobby. 14th floor, he said as we rushed to the elevator. They're about to call the vote. Did you do what I asked? He patted his breast pocket. Recording device, as requested, caught every word of Charlotte's private meeting with the Vernon CEO before the board arrived. The elevator seemed to crawl. How bad? She promised him insider information about our overseas contracts. Illegal as hell. Perfect. My phone buzzed. Lindsay, Dad's awake. He's asking for you. The elevator doors opened to chaos. Board members clustered in small groups, whispering urgently. My mother stood at the head of the conference table looking triumphant. Blair, she said smoothly, how nice of you to join us, though I'm afraid you're not authorized to be here. Actually, Violet's voice rang out as she strode in behind me. She is. As a victim of corporate fraud, she has every right to address this board. Charlotte's smile tightened. There's nothing to address. The vote is about to begin. The vote is suspended, Violet announced, dropping a thick folder on the table, pending a federal investigation. The room erupted in murmurs. Charlotte laughed, but I caught the fear in her eyes. Investigation into what? Fraud, embezzlement, attempted murder. I stepped forward. Should I go on, Mom? These are ridiculous accusations. Play the tape, Emerson. He pulled out the recorder, and Charlotte's voice filled the room. Once Harold's out of the picture, permanently this time, the board will have no choice but to approve the sale. The color drained from her face. That's doctored. Like the evidence you planted to frame me? I turned to the board. Check your emails. You'll find proof that Mrs. Mitchell has been secretly negotiating this sale for years, manipulating company finances and attempting to eliminate anyone who stood in her way. Phones began buzzing as Ricky's mass email hit their inboxes. Including her own husband, Violet added, whose medication was tampered with under her orders. We have the pharmacy tech's sworn statement. Charlotte's mask finally cracked. You ungrateful little... Mrs. Mitchell, the Vernon CEO interrupted, standing up. Is this true? Of course not. This is a desperate attempt by my daughter to... To what, Mom? I pulled out Dad's letter. To expose how you've been poisoning him, planning to seize control, destroying everyone who opposed you? You have no proof. Actually, Lindsay's voice came from the doorway. We do. She walked in, followed by our father in a wheelchair, still in his hospital gown, looking pale but furious. Harold, Charlotte whispered, you should be in the hospital. Signed myself out, he growled. Had to see for myself if what the girls told me was true. He held up his phone. Just watched your little meeting with the Vernon CEO. Very enlightening. Darling, I can explain. Save it for the prosecutors. Violet cut in. They're very interested in speaking with you. Charlotte's eyes darted around the room, finding no allies. In a flash, she lunged for her purse, but Emerson was faster. He grabbed it, spilling the contents, including a USB drive labeled Contingency. Looking for this? I picked it up. Your insurance policy? Too late. We found all your blackmail material last night. You're making a mistake, she hissed. All of you. I built this company as much as Harold did. No, Mom. I stood directly in front of her. You just tried to destroy it, and now everyone knows exactly who you are. The elevator dinged, and 2 FBI agents stepped out. Violet nodded to them. Perfect timing, gentlemen. Charlotte Mitchell? One asked. We need you to come with us. As they led her away, she turned back one last time. Blair, remember what I taught you about revenge? That it's best served cold? I smiled. I remember, Mom. I learned from the best. The boardroom emptied quickly, the Vernon CEO practically running for the elevator. Dad wheeled himself to the head of the table, looking exhausted but relieved. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I should have seen it sooner. I knelt beside his chair. We all should have. The company is safe, Violet assured him, though we'll need to do damage control. Later, Lindsay said firmly. Right now you're going back to the hospital, Dad, and this time I'm personally checking every medication. My phone buzzed one last time. An unknown number. Well played. But remember, some secrets stayed buried today. Don't go digging too deep. I deleted the message. Whatever other skeletons lurked in the company closet could wait. We had won the battle that mattered. Blair? Dad caught my hand. Thank you for fighting for the truth. I squeezed his hand, watching Lindsay gather his things. That's what family does, Dad. The real kind, anyway. Outside, I could hear sirens fading into the distance, carrying my mother away to face her consequences. It wasn't the birthday celebration I'd expected, but maybe it was the one we all needed. The next week passed in a blur of legal meetings, press statements, and hospital visits. Dad was recovering well, but the betrayal had aged him more than any medication ever could. I sat in his hospital room, watching him read through the company reports I'd brought. "The board wants to meet tomorrow," I said. "They're nervous about the publicity." "Let them be nervous." He set down the papers. "What your mother did, it's going to take time to rebuild trust." "Dad, about the company." A knock interrupted us. Emerson stood in the doorway, looking uncomfortable. "Harold Blair, we need to talk." "If this is about the SEC investigation," I started. "It's about the merger. The original one, 15 years ago." He closed the door. "There are things you both need to know." Dad sat up straighter. "Emerson, don't. They found the files, Harold. All of them. It's only a matter of time before the investigators piece it together." "Piece what together?" I looked between them. Emerson pulled up a chair. "The company wasn't just yours to merge, Harold. You had a partner." "Had being the operative word," Dad muttered. "What partner?" I demanded. "Your Uncle Robert," Emerson said. "Your mother's brother." The room went silent. I'd never heard of an Uncle Robert. "He died in a car accident," Dad said quietly. 2 weeks before the merger. "Convenient timing," I said, my stomach turning. "Very," Emerson agreed, "especially since he opposed the merger, was going to block it, in fact." "That's enough," Dad snapped. "No, it's not." Emerson turned to me. "Your mother didn't start being manipulative recently, Blair. She's been playing this game for decades." "Are you saying—" I couldn't finish the question. "The accident was never investigated properly," Emerson said. "The police chief at the time was a close friend of your mother's." Dad's hands were shaking. I didn't know, not until after, when Charlotte let something slip. By then, the merger was complete. "And you kept quiet?" I stood up, anger rising. "For 15 years? "She had evidence," he said. "Made it look like I was involved. Said if I ever told anyone, she'd destroy everything. The company, our family, everything." "That's what was really on that USB drive," Emerson added. "Not just recent blackmail material, proof of everything that happened back then." My phone buzzed. "Violet, found something in the old files. Come to my office, now." "I have to go," I said, grabbing my bag. "The investigators will want to know about this." "Blair, wait." Dad caught my arm. "There's more. About Robert. About why your mother really wanted him gone." "Tell me." "He wasn't just opposing the merger. He was investigating Charlotte's connection to another death, your grandmother's." The room spun slightly. "Grandma died of natural causes." "That's what the death certificate says," Emerson said. "But Robert had evidence suggesting otherwise." Another buzz? Lindsay this time? "Mom's asking to see us. Says she'll tell everything." I showed them the message. Dad's face hardened. "Don't trust her. She's trying to manipulate you again." "Maybe," I said. "But what if she's ready to confess? To all of it?" "It's a trap," Emerson warned. "Probably. But I need to know the truth." I headed for the door. "All of it." "Blair," Dad called after me. "Whatever you learn. I'm sorry, I should have been stronger. Should have stopped her years ago." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. In the hallway, I called Lindsay. "Meet me at Violet's office first. There's something we need to see before we talk to Mom." "Already here," she said. "Blair, it's bad. Really bad." "How bad?" "Mom didn't just kill Uncle Robert. She killed 3 other people who got in her way. Violet found the proof in sealed records." I leaned against the wall, breathing deeply. "Text me the address of Mom's holding facility. I'll be there in an hour." "Be careful," Lindsay said. "She's desperate now. Desperate people are dangerous." "I know. That's counting on." I stepped into the elevator, my mind racing. All these years, we'd lived with a monster, never seeing her true face. Now it was time to confront her, to hear her justify decades of murder and manipulation. My phone buzzed one last time. An unknown number again. Ask her about the summer house fire. Ask her why she really killed Robert. Some secrets are worth dying for. I saved the message. Whatever game my mother was playing, whatever secrets she still held, it ended today. One way or another, the truth would finally come out. The elevator doors opened, and I stepped out into the sunshine, ready to face the darkness that had shaped our family for generations. It was time to hear my mother's confession. The prison visiting room was cold and sterile. My mother sat across from me in her orange jumpsuit, somehow still managing to look elegant. Lindsay gripped my hand under the table. "My girls," Charlotte said softly. "I knew you'd come." "We're not here for a reunion," I said. "We want the truth about everything." She smiled that familiar, calculating smile. "The truth? Are you sure you can handle it?" "Try us," Lindsay snapped. "Start with Uncle Robert." "Ah, Robert." She leaned back. My righteous big brother, always trying to protect me, even from myself, until he started digging into things that didn't concern him. "Like Grandma's death?" "Mother was sick," Charlotte said sharply. "She needed help ending her suffering." "That wasn't your choice to make," I said. "No? Like it wasn't my choice when your father wanted to sell the company to those vultures 15 years ago? Robert would have let it happen." "So you killed him," Lindsay whispered. "I protected what was ours." Charlotte's eyes flashed. "Just like I protected us from the summer house fire that would have exposed everything." "The insurance investigator," I realized, the one who disappeared. He was going to ruin us. I did what I had to do. "And the others?" I pulled out Violet's files. The accountant in 05, the board member in 12. Necessary sacrifices. They were people. Lindsay slammed her hand on the table. With families. "Everything I did for our family," Charlotte hissed. "To keep us powerful, to keep us wealthy, to give you girls everything." "No." I stood up. "You did it for yourself, because you're a sociopath who can't stand losing control." She laughed, but there was an edge of desperation to it. "You think you've won? You think exposing all this makes you powerful?" She leaned forward. "I still have one card left to play." "Your hidden evidence?" I smiled. "The USB drive, already found it, along with the real records from the merger, the proof of your embezzlement, and your private accounts in the Caymans." For the first time, real fear crossed her face. "It's over, Mom," Lindsay said. "The FBI has everything. The DA is pressing charges for 4 counts of murder, attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy. You're looking at life in prison," I added. "No deals, no escape routes, just consequences. You ungrateful little—" She lunged across the table, but the guards were faster, restraining her. "I gave you everything." "No, you took everything," I said calmly. "And now we're taking it back." As the guards led her away, she screamed, "You'll regret this, both of you. I'm still your mother." "No," Lindsay called after her. "You're just the woman who gave birth to us. There's a difference." Outside the prison, we sat in my car, processing. My phone buzzed. "Dad, it's done. Board approved the restructuring. Company's safe." "He did it," I told Lindsay. "Dad secured the company. New board, new safeguards. And us? What do we do now?" I started the engine. "Now we rebuild. The right way." "Blair?" She touched my arm. "I found something else in Mom's things. A letter from Uncle Robert written the day before he died. He knew what she was planning. He wrote that his biggest regret was not being able to protect us from her. Maybe we protected ourselves in the end," I said, "by choosing truth over power, by being better than her." My phone buzzed again. Emerson. "Board meeting tomorrow. They want to name you CEO." I showed Lindsay the message. She smiled. "Take it. Show everyone what real leadership looks like." "Only if you come back as CFO," I said. "We do this together or not at all." "Together," she agreed. "No more secrets, no more lies." I pulled away from the prison, watching it shrink in my rearview mirror. My mother would spend the rest of her life there, surrounded by the consequences of her choices. "You know what's funny?" Lindsay said as we drove. "She thought she was teaching us about power. Instead, she taught us about justice." "And family," I added. "The real kind." My phone lit up one last time. An unknown number. "Congratulations. You won. But remember, power isn't just about control. It's about choice." I deleted the message without responding. We had all the power we needed now. The power of truth, of justice, and of real family bonds. Dad was waiting at the office with Emerson and Violet, ready to plan the company's future. A future built on honesty and integrity, not manipulation and fear. "Ready?" Lindsay asked as we pulled into the parking garage. I thought about everything we'd discovered, everything we'd overcome, about the strength we'd found in standing together against darkness. Ready, I said, and stepped out into the light. Some people spend their lives seeking power, but real power comes from knowing who you are and standing firm in your truth. My mother never understood that, but we did, and that made all the difference. The text message from my sister arrived just as I was finishing up at the salon. Family dinner tonight. Dwayne and Paige will be there. No excuses this time. My stomach clenched. I'm Madeline, and 3 years ago, my husband of 23 years left me for my niece. Yes, you read that right. My niece Paige, the same girl who used to beg me to braid her hair and make her chocolate chip pancakes on Sunday mornings. Mom, we don't have to go, Claire said, looking up from her wedding magazine. My daughter had stopped by the salon during her lunch break, supposedly to discuss centerpieces, but really to check on me. She'd been doing that a lot lately. No, sweetie, we're going. I set down my phone with more force than necessary. I won't let them think they've won. Claire reached across the desk and squeezed my hand. You're stronger than I am. I can barely look at them without wanting to throw something. Trust me, I've imagined throwing plenty of things. I managed to smile. Speaking of throwing things, how's the wedding planning coming along? Good, except... Claire bit her lip. Aunt Susan called. She's insisting Paige should be invited. The familiar anger bubbled up inside me. Absolutely not. That woman is not coming anywhere near your wedding. That's what I told her. But then she started crying about family unity and second chances. Second chances? I laughed bitterly. Like the second chance Dwayne gave himself with a 20-something version of me? The bell above the salon door chimed, and my best friend Celeste walked in, taking one look at our faces before announcing, well, this calls for wine. It's 2 p.m, I protested. And you're about to have dinner with your ex-husband and his child bride. I'd say that qualifies as wine o'clock. She pulled a bottle from her oversized purse. I keep this for emergencies. 3 hours and several glasses later, we pulled up to my sister Susan's house. Claire squeezed my arm before we walked in. Remember what Celeste said. We're here to show them we're unbothered. The moment we stepped inside, I heard Paige's laugh. That artificial, too loud sound that always reminded me of wind chimes in a storm. She was perched on the arm of Dwayne's chair, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Madeline! Susan rushed over, hugging me too tightly. I'm so glad you came. We've missed you at these gatherings. Well, I've been busy. I forced a smile. The salon's doing really well. Oh, that's nice. Susan's eyes darted to where Dwayne and Paige sat. Dwayne's firm just landed another major client, and Paige has been doing amazing work with her interior design business. How wonderful for them. I headed straight for the wine. Dinner was excruciating. Every time Paige opened her mouth, it was to mention another luxury vacation or expensive purchase. Dwayne sat there beaming at her like she was dispensing pure wisdom instead of just flaunting his money. Claire, honey, Paige suddenly turned her attention to my daughter. I hear you're planning a June wedding. You know, I have some amazing contacts in the industry. I'd love to help. I nearly choked on my wine. Claire's knuckles went white around her fork. That's very kind, Claire managed. But we've got it handled. Oh, but you simply must let me help. Paige's smile didn't reach her eyes. After all, we're family, and I do know all the best people. I'd hate for anything to go wrong. The threat in her voice was subtle but clear. I set down my glass before I could throw it. Actually, Paige, I said sweetly, I think you've helped our family quite enough already. The table went silent. Dwayne cleared his throat. Madeline, no, it's fine. Paige's laugh tinkled through the tension. I understand Madeline's still adjusting, but don't worry, I'll be seeing everyone very soon. She winked at Claire, who looked like she might be sick. As we drove home later, Claire was unusually quiet. Mom, she finally said, I have a bad feeling about this. Me too, sweetie. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Me too. But I had no idea just how right we both were, or how much that dinner would set in motion the events that would change everything. The morning of Claire's wedding dawned perfect, too perfect. As I helped her into her dress, that nagging feeling from the family dinner 6 months ago still haunted me. You look absolutely beautiful, I whispered, fighting back tears as I adjusted her veil. Mom, don't cry or I'll start crying, and Celeste will kill us both if we ruin our makeup. Claire squeezed my hands. her own eyes glistening. A knock at the door made us both jump. Celeste poked her head in. "Everything okay in here? The photographer's ready for—" "Oh my God, what did I say about crying?" "We're not," Claire and I said in unison, frantically fanning our faces. "Good, because Owen's already emotional enough for everyone. That boy's been pacing the garden for an hour." Celeste paused, her expression turning serious. "Also, there's something you should know." Before she could finish, the door burst open. Paige swept in wearing a white dress that could easily be mistaken for a wedding gown. "Surprise!" She threw her arms wide. "I just couldn't miss my favorite cousin's big day." Claire's face went pale. "You weren't invited." "Oh, please! We're family, and look what I brought." Paige held up a crystal bottle. "The most expensive champagne money can buy. We simply must have a toast before the ceremony." "Get out!" My voice was ice. "Now!" "Make me." Paige's smile turned cruel. "I have every right to be here, unless you want to cause a scene and ruin Claire's special day." I started forward, but Celeste grabbed my arm. "Not worth it," she muttered. "Fine." Paige set down the champagne. "I'll just go find my seat, front row naturally. After all, I am the bride's only cousin." The moment she left, Claire collapsed into a chair. "Mom, I can't do this. Not with her here." "Yes, you can." I knelt beside her. "This is your day. Don't let her take it from you." The ceremony started beautifully. Owen's face when he saw Claire walking down the aisle made my heart swell. But halfway through their vows, I heard it. Paige's distinctive laugh, loud and deliberate. The minister paused. Claire's hands trembled in Owen's. "Sorry," Paige called out. "Just so touching." She continued to make small disruptions. A cough here, a whispered comment there. Each time, Claire's shoulders tensed more. Then came the ring exchange. As Owen reached for Claire's ring, Paige suddenly lurched forward, accidentally bumping the best man. The ring went flying, landing in a decorative fountain with a splash. "Oh no!" Paige gasped dramatically. "How clumsy of me!" Chaos erupted. The best man rolled up his sleeve to fish for the ring. Guests started murmuring. Claire looked ready to cry. "Wait," I called out. I slipped off my own wedding ring, the one I'd kept all these years, planning to give to Claire someday anyway. "Use this for now." Owen shot me a grateful look and slipped it onto Claire's finger. The ceremony continued, but the damage was done. The perfect moment was broken. At the reception, Paige wasn't finished. She grabbed the microphone during the toasts. "I'd like to say something about love," she slurred, clearly drunk. "About how sometimes it comes when you least expect it, like when your much older husband realizes his niece is his soulmate." Owen's brother tackled the DJ booth and cut the sound. But Paige kept going, her voice carrying across the stunned crowd. "And sometimes weddings don't last. Just ask Madeline. Or better yet, ask Dwayne. He's right here. Stand up, honey. Tell everyone how you upgraded." Security finally removed her, but she was laughing the whole way out. "See you all at the next family dinner," she called over her shoulder. Later that night, after we'd salvaged what we could of the reception, I found Claire crying in the bathroom. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," I whispered, holding her close. "Why does she hate us so much, Mom? What did we ever do to her?" I had no answer. But as I helped Claire fix her makeup one last time, something inside me hardened. Paige had crossed a line, and I was done playing nice. "You know what?" I said, watching Claire and Owen drive away to their honeymoon. "It's time someone taught that girl about consequences." Celeste raised an eyebrow. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," I said slowly, "that revenge is a dish best served with a bow on top." I didn't know exactly what form my revenge would take yet, but watching Paige stumble to her car, still wearing that smug smile, I knew one thing for certain. She was about to learn that karma has a way of coming back around, and I was going to help it along. Look what I found. Claire spread old photos across my kitchen table a week after returning from her honeymoon. Her eyes were still red from crying about the wedding video, which had captured every one of Paige's disruptions in HD glory. Where did these come from? I picked up a photo of Paige at 16, posing in my garden. "Owen and I were cleaning out Grandma's attic. There's a whole box." Claire pulled out another picture. "Remember this? When Paige begged you to host her sweet 16 because her mom wouldn't?" The memory hit hard. I spent 3 weeks planning that party, made her favorite strawberry cake from scratch, and now we know why she really wanted it here. Claire's voice turned bitter. She held up another photo, Paige making eyes at Dwayne across the party table. She was already plotting. What else is in that box? We spent the next hour discovering Paige's careful documentation of her obsession with my ex-husband. Photos, diary entries, even old receipts from coffee shops where she'd accidentally run into him. She planned this for years, I whispered, feeling sick, right under our noses. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. It was Rodney, our family lawyer and friend, holding a manila envelope. "You're not going to believe what crossed my desk today," he said, settling into a chair. "Dwayne's trying to buy the old Harrison property." "The one by the lake?" I sat up straighter. "But that's been in Celeste's family for generations." "Exactly. And guess who's pushing hard for it? Paige has been calling the office daily, claiming it's her dream home." Claire snorted. "More like she's desperate to get into the country club next door. They rejected her membership application twice." Rodney spread out some documents. "Here's the interesting part. The property has some unique deed restrictions. The original owner was big on community service, made it a condition of ownership." Something clicked in my mind. "Tell me more about these conditions." "Monthly volunteer work, regular community engagement, annual charitable contributions." He smiled. "Not exactly Paige's style." "No," I said slowly, an idea forming. "But it could be." Claire leaned forward. "Mom, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking about how much Paige wants that house, and how interesting it would be if someone else bought it first." Rodney raised an eyebrow. "You don't have that kind of money, Madeline." "No, but I have something better." I pulled out my phone, dialing Celeste. "Hey, remember how you said you owed me for covering your salon shifts last month? I need a favor." Over the next hour, a plan took shape. Celeste agreed to sell me the property at a fraction of its value. Consider it payback for 20 years of friendship, with one condition: I had to keep it in the family. "Perfect," I said, "because I'm planning to give it away." "To Paige?" Claire looked horrified. "Eventually. But first, we're going to make her earn it." I turned to Rodney. "How creative can we get with deed restrictions?" His grin was answer enough. Later that evening, after Claire and Rodney left, I sat alone looking through more photos. One caught my eye, Paige at 12, helping me plant roses. She was smiling, genuinely smiling, not that fake laugh she used now. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister. "Paige is devastated about the house. Someone outbid them. She's been crying all day." I should have felt satisfied. Instead, I felt something unexpected: hope. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't just about revenge anymore. Celeste called next. "The papers are ready. Are you sure about this? It's a lot of money to tie up in a lesson." "It's not just about the money," I replied. "It's about showing her actions have consequences. But also what? Also about giving her a chance to be the person she used to be, before all this." "You're a better person than me," Celeste sighed. "I just want revenge." "Oh, don't worry," I said, picking up the photo of teenage Paige making eyes at my husband. "There will be plenty of that, too." I started making a list of conditions for the deed, each one designed to challenge Paige's entitled worldview, each one a step toward either redemption or humiliation. Her choice. "Time to learn," I whispered to the photo, "that some things can't be bought, some things have to be earned." And I was going to make her earn every single inch of that property, one humbling condition at a time. "These conditions are genius," Rodney said, reviewing the document I'd drafted. We were sitting in his office, surrounded by legal papers and coffee cups. "But are you sure you want to make them this intense?" "Read them again," I insisted, out loud. He adjusted his glasses. "Condition 1. Monthly volunteer work at the local women's shelter, minimum 20 hours. Condition 2. Weekly cooking classes at the community center, teaching basic skills to underprivileged youth. The same center where she mocked the staff last Christmas," I added. Condition 3. Regular participation in neighborhood cleanup initiatives. Condition 4. Annual donation of 15% of household income to local charities." He looked up. "You know Dwayne's gonna hate that last one." "That's the point. Hit them where it hurts, their precious image and their wallet." The door opened and Claire walked in with Owen. "Did you add the one about the garden?" "Condition 5, Rodney continued. Maintain and expand the existing community garden, including weekly sessions teaching local children about sustainable growing practices. Perfect. Claire smiled grimly. Paige hates getting her hands dirty. Remember when she complained about breaking a nail at Grandma's funeral? Owen whistled. This is either going to break her or make her a better person. Win-win, I said. Rodney shuffled the papers. There's just one problem. How are we going to ensure she actually does these things? She could just fake the documentation. Already handled. I pulled out my phone. I've got commitments from every organization involved. They'll report directly to you as the executor. Plus, I've arranged for local news coverage of the generous young socialite giving back to her community. She'll hate that, Claire grinned. She only likes press she can control. Exactly. And here's the kicker. If she fails to meet any condition, even once, the property reverts to a community trust. No refunds, no appeals. Rodney let out a low whistle. You've thought of everything. Almost. I reached into my bag and pulled out an ornate box. This is how we'll present the deed. It belonged to my grandmother. Paige always coveted it. Along with everything else that wasn't hers, Claire muttered. I opened the box, revealing the velvet interior. The deed goes here, along with photos documenting her, let's call them, greatest hits. The time she crashed cousin Sarah's baby shower. The Christmas she announced her engagement to Dwayne during my mother's cancer recovery celebration. The wedding video. Brutal, Owen said admiringly. She needs to understand why this is happening. I closed the box carefully. Each photo comes with a corresponding condition. Want to avoid the women's shelter? Here's you mocking domestic violence survivors at the fundraiser last year. Don't like teaching kids? Here's you making fun of the community center's after-school program. Mom, Claire said softly, this is brilliant, but are you sure you're ready for the fallout? The fallout's already happened, sweetheart. She made sure of that. This is about consequences. Rodney started preparing the final paperwork. When do you want to do this? Their anniversary party is next weekend. Susan's hosting again. Perfect timing, Claire said. She's been bragging about it for months. All her society friends will be there. Speaking of society, Owen added, I talked to my sister at the country club. They're planning to reject Paige's membership application again next week. She'll be desperate for a win. I placed the deed in the box, along with the carefully selected photos. Then let's give her one, with strings attached. You know, Rodney said, watching me arrange everything, this could backfire. She might rise to the challenge, become a better person, and end up with a beautiful lakefront property. That's not backfiring, I replied. That's the best possible outcome. Either way, she learned something about karma. Claire helped me tie a perfect bow around the box. What if she refuses? Then she proves to everyone exactly who she is, and that property she's been dreaming of becomes a community center named after her grandmother, the woman whose funeral she skipped for a spa day. As we finished the preparations, my phone buzzed with a text from Susan. Paige is inconsolable about losing the house, says her life is ruined. Please come to the anniversary party. She needs all her family around her. I showed the message to Claire, who rolled her eyes. Classic Paige, making everything about her. Don't worry, I said, closing the ornate box with a satisfying click. She's about to get exactly what she deserves, one way or another. Looking at that box, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Satisfaction, anticipation, and something else. Maybe hope. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about forcing them to become better than they are. I found something you need to see. Celeste burst into my salon after closing, waving her phone. Remember Tommy from the country club? He just sent me these. I peered at the screen. Photos of Paige, much younger, working at what looked like a soup kitchen. Another showed her reading to elderly patients in a hospital. That's not possible, I said. Paige would never. It was before Dwayne, Celeste explained. Tommy says she used to volunteer there every weekend. Look at the dates. She stopped right around the time she started pursuing my husband. The realization hit hard. So she wasn't always like this. There's more. Celeste scrolled through her phone. According to Tommy, she was studying to be a social worker before she dropped out to become an interior designer. She made air quotes with her fingers. What happened to her? I whispered. The bell above the door chimed. Claire walked in with a stack of papers. Mom, I've been doing some digging. You won't believe. Let me guess, I interrupted. Paige used to be a decent person? How did you know? I pointed to Celeste's phone. We're just finding out ourselves. Keep going. Claire spread the papers on my styling station. These are her college transcripts, straight A's in social work courses, letters of recommendation from professors. She was even up for a scholarship to study trauma counseling. Until Dwayne, I said. Until Dwayne, Claire confirmed. It's like she became a completely different person. Celeste sat down heavily. Maybe your revenge plan isn't just about punishment. Maybe it's about reminding her who she used to be. The door chimed again. This time it was Owen, looking troubled. I just ran into Dwayne at the coffee shop. You need to hear this. We gathered around as Owen recounted the conversation he'd overheard between Dwayne and his business partner. He's losing money, Owen explained. Bad investments, market downturns. That's why they wanted the lake house so badly. It's one of the few properties in the area still guaranteed to appreciate. And now they can't have it, I said. There's more. I heard Paige crying in the bathroom. She was on the phone with someone, saying she feels trapped. Said she's tired of pretending to be something she's not. The salon fell silent as we absorbed this information. Mom, Claire said slowly, are we the bad guys here? No, Celeste cut in. Paige made her choices. But maybe... She glanced at the ornate box sitting on my desk. Maybe this is a chance to help her make better ones. I picked up one of the old photos of Paige at the soup kitchen. Her smile was genuine, her eyes bright with purpose. So different from the artificial laugh and calculated gestures she used now. We need to modify the conditions, I said suddenly. What? Why? Claire looked alarmed. After everything she did? Not remove them, enhance them. Instead of just volunteering at the women's shelter, she could counsel there. Use that social work training she abandoned. Owen nodded thoughtfully. The community center needs a program director for their youth services. And the garden project, Celeste added, could be therapeutic programming for trauma survivors. Something she actually studied. I started revising the documents, energy flowing through me. We're not just going to make her do good things. We're going to remind her why she wanted to do them in the first place. But what about the revenge? Claire asked. What about consequences for what she did to us? This is the revenge, I replied. Making her confront who she was, who she became, and who she could be. That's a harder punishment than anything else we could devise. And if she refuses? Owen asked. Then she loses everything. The house, her reputation, and her last chance at redemption. But if she accepts... I smiled. She might just save herself. We worked late into the night, refining the conditions. Each task now had a deeper purpose, a connection to the person Paige had once been. The photos in the box weren't just evidence of her misdeeds anymore. They were paired with images of her past good works, a before and after of her soul. As everyone was leaving, Celeste paused at the door. You know, most people would just want to destroy her. Destruction is easy, I said, closing the box one final time. Redemption, that's the real challenge. And if she fails? I thought about the wedding, about all the pain she'd caused. Then at least we gave her a choice. What happens next is up to her. The anniversary party was 2 days away. The trap was set, but now it felt less like a trap and more like a lifeline. Whether Paige would grab it remained to be seen. Susan's house buzzed with activity as caterers rushed around setting up for Dwayne and Paige's anniversary party. I stood in the corner, clutching the ornate box, watching Paige hold court among her society friends. Can you believe someone outbid us on that gorgeous lakefront property? She was saying. Probably some developer who'll ruin the whole neighborhood. Such a shame, one of her friends simpered. You would have been perfect for the country club set. Claire appeared at my elbow. Ready for this? As I'll ever be. I adjusted my grip on the box. Where's Owen? Recording everything from the security camera angle. Rodney's got the paperwork ready. Paige's voice carried across the room. At least we still have the summer house in the Hamptons, though it's so tedious having only one vacation property. Now, Claire whispered, while she's performing for her audience. I stepped forward, box extended. Happy anniversary, Paige. The room quieted. Paige's eyes locked onto the box, recognition flickering across her face. Grandmother's jewelry box. I always loved this. She reached for it greedily. Open it, I said softly. I think you'll find it contains exactly what you deserve. Her fingers trembled slightly as she untied the bow. The lid creaked open, and her expression froze. What is this? She pulled out the deed, then the photos. Color drained from her face as she flipped through them. A gift, I said. The lake house you wanted so badly. It's yours. Her eyes narrowed. What's the catch? Read the conditions. As she scanned the document, her artificial smile slipped. This is ridiculous. Community service? Counseling programs? Teaching? She laughed that tinkling laugh, but it sounded strained. You can't be serious. Very serious. I pointed to the photos. Each condition corresponds to one of your memorable moments. Think of it as karmic balance. Dwayne, she called out, come look at what your ex-wife is trying to pull. He appeared beside her, scanning the papers. His face darkened. 15% of our income to charity? Mandatory community involvement? This is extortion. No, I corrected. This is opportunity. The property you wanted at well below market value. All you have to do is give back to the community you've taken so much from. Paige's hands shook as she came to the last photo, herself at the soup kitchen years ago. Where did you get this? Remember who you were, Paige, before the designer clothes and society parties? That girl wanted to help people. That girl was naive, she snapped, but her voice wavered. That girl was real. I stepped closer, and she's still in there, underneath all this. I gestured to her carefully curated exterior. You can't make me do this. But she hadn't let go of the deed. You're right. I can't make you do anything. But if you refuse, the property goes to a community trust. They'll build a center there, named after your grandmother. You know, the one whose funeral you skipped for a spa day? The room had gone completely silent. Paige's friends watched with undisguised interest as her perfect facade cracked. Why are you doing this? She whispered. Because someone needs to show you that actions have consequences. And because I touched the old photo of her at the soup kitchen. Because I remember this girl, and I think she deserves another chance. This is absurd, Dwayne blustered. We don't need your charity. Actually, Paige cut him off, still staring at the photo. Actually, I want to think about it. Paige. Dwayne looked scandalized. I said, I want to think about it. Her voice was different, harder, more like her old self. I nodded. You have 24 hours. After that, the offer goes to the trust. As I turned to leave, Paige called out, that girl in the photo, she wasn't pretending. I know, I said. That's why I'm giving her one last chance. Claire and I walked out together, leaving behind a murmuring crowd and a very quiet Paige still holding the open box. Did you see her face when she saw the old photos? Claire asked as we got in the car. Yes, for just a moment her mask slipped. Do you think she'll do it? I started the engine, remembering the look in Paige's eyes when she saw her younger self. I think for the first time in years, she's going to have to make a real choice. Not about what she wants to have, but about who she wants to be. And if she chooses wrong, then at least we'll all know exactly who she is. I pulled away from Susan's house. But something tells me that girl from the soup kitchen isn't quite done fighting yet. The call came from Rodney exactly 23 hours later. She's here, with Dwayne, and she's asking for you. I found them in Rodney's office, Paige still clutching the ornate box. She'd stripped off her usual perfect makeup, and her designer clothes had been replaced with jeans and a simple sweater. She looked younger, more vulnerable. I have conditions of my own, she said as I sat down. Dwayne shifted uncomfortably. Paige, we discussed this. No, she cut him off. You discussed. Now I'm talking. She turned to me. First, I want to run the women's shelter counseling program my way. No interference. Agreed, I said, as long as you maintain the required hours. Second, I want to finish my social work degree. The community service hours should count toward my practicum requirements. Rodney nodded, making notes. We can arrange that. And third, she pulled out the photo of herself at the soup kitchen. I want Aunt Madeline to work with me, not supervising, not judging, working alongside me. The room went silent. Even Dwayne looked surprised. Why? I asked. Because, she took a deep breath, you're the only one who remembered who I used to be, and maybe I need help finding her again. Dwayne stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. We don't need this house. We can buy... No, we can't. Paige's voice was sharp. Tell her the truth, Dwayne. Tell her about the failed investments, the mounting debt. Tell her why you've been pushing so hard for this property. He sank back into his chair, deflated. I'll sign the agreement, Paige continued. All of it. But I need to know if you're doing this just to punish me, or if you actually believe I can change. I studied her face. No artificial smile, no calculated charm. Just raw honesty. Okay, I said. Partners. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Paige threw herself into the conditions with an intensity that surprised everyone. She started at the women's shelter, initially met with skepticism by the staff who remembered her previous behavior. They hate me, she admitted one evening as we left the shelter together. I deserve it. Give them time, I said. Actions speak louder than words. She proved it the following week, staying late to counsel a teenage girl who reminded me of the old Paige, bright, ambitious, but lost. I watched through the window as Paige shared her own story, tears streaming down both their faces. The community garden proved challenging in unexpected ways. I can't believe I used to mock this, she said, dirt streaked across her face as we planted tomatoes with local kids. It's actually therapeutic. Remember when you used to help me with my roses? I asked. Before I decided designer clothes and social status were more important? Yeah. She sat back on her heels. I was so stupid. Not stupid, lost. Dwayne showed up less and less as Paige immersed herself in her new roles. Then one day, she arrived at the shelter alone, engagement ring missing. He couldn't handle the new me, she explained simply. Or maybe I couldn't handle the old him. The real breakthrough came during Claire's visit to the community center. Paige was teaching a cooking class to at-risk teens when Claire walked in. I'm sorry, Paige said immediately, putting down her mixing bowl. For the wedding, for everything. Claire hesitated, then picked up an apron. Show me what you're making. By the end of the class, they were laughing together, flour in their hair, just like when they were kids. You know what's weird? Paige said to me later. Following your conditions, doing all this community work, it was supposed to be my punishment, but it feels more like coming home. That was the point, I admitted. The girl in that soup kitchen photo, she didn't need revenge. She needed a way back. Paige wiped her eyes. I have one more condition to fulfill. She pulled out a check, 15% of her savings, made out to the women's shelter. It's not much since I'm starting over, but it's a start. Starting over is what this was always about. As we walked to our cars, Paige stopped suddenly. Thank you, she said, for not giving up on me, even when I gave up on myself. I thought about the ornate box, now sitting on our desk at the shelter, filled with new photos. Paige with her cooking class, working in the garden, counseling at the shelter. Sometimes, I said, the best revenge is helping someone become who they were always meant to be. She smiled, a real smile, not the artificial one she'd worn for so long. Even if that someone broke your heart? Especially then. The autumn air was crisp as I pulled into the driveway of the lake house. Music and laughter drifted from the backyard, where Paige was hosting her first community fundraiser. Perfect timing, Claire called from the garden. She was arranging flowers grown by the youth program. Mom, you won't believe what Paige just did. Before she could explain, Paige emerged from the house carrying a tray of appetizers made by her cooking class. Her hair was tied back simply, and she wore a volunteer coordinator badge from the shelter. Aunt Madeline, she set down the tray. I need to show you something. She led me through the crowd to a newly constructed gazebo overlooking the lake. Inside, a plaque caught my eye. The Second Chance Garden, where growth begins again. That's not all, Claire said, joining us. Tell her about the scholarship. Paige blushed. I'm using my divorce settlement to create a scholarship fund for survivors at the shelter who want to pursue social work degrees. Like you're doing, I asked. Actually, she pulled out an envelope. I got my acceptance letter today. Full program, starting next semester. Before I could respond, Susan rushed over. Paige, honey, Dwayne's here. He's demanding to speak with you. We turned to see him striding across the lawn in an expensive suit, looking out of place among the casual fundraiser crowd. I got this, Paige said quietly. We watched as she met him halfway. Their conversation was intense but controlled. You're throwing away everything we built, he said, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. No, Paige replied calmly. I'm building something real for the first time. Did you need something specific, or did you just come to remind me what I left behind? The country club board? Approved my membership last week, she interrupted. Not as your wife, but as the director of community outreach. Turns out they value social contribution over social climbing. He deflated slightly. Your mother says you're selling your designer clothes. Consignment sale next week. Proceeds go to the shelter's legal fund. She smiled. You should come. Might find something nice for your next wife. The crowd that had gathered tried to hide their smiles. Dwayne looked around, finally seeming to notice the meaningful work happening everywhere. Teenagers teaching gardening skills, shelter residents serving food they'd learned to cook, social workers networking with local leaders. You really have changed, he said quietly. Yes, Paige agreed. I grew up. It's not too late for you either, you know. He shook his head and walked away. This time, Paige didn't watch him go. Later, as the fundraiser wound down, we sat in the gazebo watching the sunset over the lake. Claire joined us, bringing hot chocolate. Owen's talking about volunteering at the center, she said. The kids love him. Everyone's welcome, Paige replied. That's kind of the point. She pulled out the ornate box, now weathered from frequent handling. Inside, alongside the old photos, were new ones. Paige receiving her counseling certification, Claire and Paige gardening together, the three of us at shelter events. I keep this to remind me, she said. Not of who I was, but of who I chose to become. About that, I reached into my bag. I brought something for you. It was a framed photo of her at 16, helping me with my roses. On the back I'd written, "Some flowers bloom twice." Tears welled in her eyes. I don't deserve all these second chances. That's exactly why you deserve them, I said, because you finally understand that. Claire raised her hot chocolate. To second chances. And third and fourth ones, Paige added, as many as it takes. As the last guest left, carrying fresh vegetables and information packets about local services, Paige turned to me. You know, when you gave me this house with all those conditions, I thought it was the cruelest revenge possible. She laughed softly, making me face myself, my choices, my potential. It was harder than any punishment. And now? Now I understand that real revenge would have been letting me stay lost. She hugged me tightly. Thank you for finding me instead. The lake reflected the last rays of sunlight as we cleaned up together. Aunt, daughter, and niece. Our shadows long, but our hearts lighter than they'd been in years. Ready to go? Claire asked eventually. Actually, Paige said, I was hoping you both might stay. I'm making grandmother's lasagna recipe for my cooking class tomorrow. Could use some expert advice. I looked at my daughter, who nodded with a smile. We'd love to, I said, following them into the warm light of the house that had become not just Paige's home, but a home for second chances. Sometimes the best endings aren't about getting even. They're about getting better together.
I stood frozen in the grand ballroom of the Hanson estate, watching my mother-in-law Meredith unveil my skincare line, the one I'd spent 2 years perfecting, as her family's newest venture. The crystal champagne glass nearly slipped from my trembling fingers as she gestured to the elegant display of products, each bearing the Hanson Beauty logo where my grandmother's name should have been. My name is Lucia, and this was supposed to be my moment. Instead, I was just another guest at my own execution. Ladies and gentlemen, Meredith's voice carried across the room with practiced authority. I'm thrilled to present our exclusive line of natural skincare products, developed through generations of Hanson family expertise. I felt bile rising in my throat. Those were my grandmother's recipes, centuries-old formulas passed down through my family, not hers. Next to Meredith stood her daughter Paula, beaming with unearned pride as she held up one of the signature facial serums. Lucia, my husband Tyler touched my elbow. Are you okay? You look pale. Before I could answer, Fred, my business partner, rushed over. Tell me I'm seeing things, he whispered urgently. Those aren't our formulas up there, are they? They are. My voice came out surprisingly steady. Every single one. The room spun as I remembered sharing my plans with Meredith over dinner 3 months ago. How she'd seemed so supportive, offering to connect me with suppliers through her social network. I'd even given her samples to try. And now, Meredith continued, I'd like to introduce the creative force behind Hanson Beauty, my daughter Paula. Paula stepped forward, her designer dress catching the light. Thank you, Mother. I'm so excited to share these family secrets that have been passed down through generations of Hanson women. The applause was deafening. I watched society's elite fawn over my sister-in-law as she described the exact manufacturing process I'd developed. We have to do something, Fred hissed. We have all the documentation, the original formulas. We're in my office at the Hanson building. I cut him off, where Meredith had full access as board member. Tyler squeezed my hand. Lucia, this can't be right. Mother wouldn't she? I pulled away from him. Your mother has never accepted me as part of this family. Now I know why she insisted I work from their corporate office. As if on cue, Meredith spotted us and glided over, Paula in tow. Lucia, darling, isn't this exciting? Paula has done such amazing work. I met her eyes, seeing the challenge there. She knew exactly what she'd done. Amazing indeed. Those formulas seem familiar. Oh? Meredith's smile didn't waver. Well, great minds think alike, though of course these are authentic Hanson family recipes. Really? I stepped closer. Then you won't mind explaining how you replicated my grandmother's exact proportions of Bulgarian rose oil and wild harvested herbs, the ones I spent months perfecting? Paula shifted uncomfortably. Mother? Now, Lucia. Meredith's voice dropped to a whisper. Let's not make a scene. You're part of this family now. The success of Hanson Beauty benefits all of us. I trusted you, I said, my voice cracking. I shared my grandmother's legacy with you. A legacy? Meredith laughed softly. Dear, you're an immigrant's granddaughter who married into our family. Did you really think we'd let you launch a brand under your name? This is about protecting the Hanson reputation. The room went silent in my ears. Through the blur of tears, I watched Curtis Douglas, Meredith's business partner, directing photographers to capture Paula's practiced poses with the products. Lucia, Tyler started, but I was already moving. I walked straight to the display table, picked up one of the serums, and hurled it against the marble floor. The crash silenced the room. These formulas were stolen, I announced, my voice carrying across the stunned crowd. Every recipe, every ingredient combination, they were all developed by my grandmother and me, and I can prove it. Security appeared at Meredith's subtle gesture. I think you've had too much champagne, she said smoothly. Perhaps it's best if you leave. As strong hands gripped my arms, I locked eyes with Paula. For a moment, I saw uncertainty flicker across her face. You can steal my formulas, I called out as they dragged me toward the door, but you can't steal the knowledge behind them. Let's see how long your family legacy lasts without me. The last thing I saw before the doors closed was Tyler, standing frozen between his mother and the space where I had been. Outside in the cool night air, Fred helped me into his car. What now? He asked quietly. I wiped my eyes, smearing expensive mascara across my fingers. Now? I took a deep breath, feeling something hard and determined settle in my chest. Now we make them regret ever hearing my grandmother's name. Fred started the engine, and as we pulled away from the Hanson estate, I watched the glittering lights grow smaller in the side mirror. They thought they'd won tonight, but they had no idea what they'd just started. This wasn't just about business anymore. This was about justice, family honor, and showing the Hansons that karma always collects her debts. Mija, stop pacing. You'll wear a hole in my floor. My grandmother Aurora's voice cut through my spiral of self-doubt. 2 weeks had passed since the Hanson Beauty launch, and I'd been hiding out in her small apartment, licking my wounds. I should have seen it coming, Abuela. I collapsed onto her worn floral couch. The way Meredith always asked so many questions about the formulas, how she insisted I work from their office. Aurora set down her wooden spoon and wiped her hands on her apron. The familiar scent of herbs filled the kitchen, the same herbs that had inspired my skincare line. "Come here," she said, pulling out a kitchen chair. "Sit." I obeyed, watching as she opened her ancient recipe box. "Do you know why I never wrote down the exact measurements for our family's remedies? Because you're old school and prefer to eyeball everything?" She smacked my shoulder playfully. "No, smart mouth, because the real secret isn't in the recipes. It's in knowing how to read the plants, how to feel the right moment to harvest, how to sense when the mixture is perfect. These things cannot be stolen." My phone buzzed again. Another call from Tyler. I silenced it. "He's called 6 times today," Aurora noted. "Let him call. He's probably just doing damage control for his precious family. Or maybe he's worried about his wife who disappeared 2 weeks ago." Before I could respond, Fred burst through the door, waving his tablet. "Lucia, you need to see this." He thrust the device at me. On screen was a beauty blog reviewing Handsome Beauty's products. The headline made my heart skip. "Handsome Beauty launch faces quality control issues. Customers report severe reactions. They're trying to mass produce your formulas," Fred explained, pulling up more articles. "But they clearly don't understand the importance of proper ingredient sourcing or processing. There are complaints flooding in about rashes and allergic reactions." Aurora peered over my shoulder. "Ah, they used processed rose oil instead of wild harvested, didn't they? Amateurs." I scrolled through the comments. "This is bad, really bad. They're going to hurt someone." "It's their own fault," Fred said. "But that's not all. Look at their stock price." The Handsome Beauty launch had tanked their parent company's value by 30% in 2 weeks. A smile tugged at my lips before I caught myself. "I shouldn't be happy about this." "Why not?" Aurora demanded. "They stole from you. Let them learn their lesson." My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Paula. "Please call me. It's important." "Delete it," Fred advised. "We need to focus on our next move. I've been talking to some independent investors who are interested in backing your own line." I stared at the message, remembering Paula's uncertain expression at the launch. "What if—" "No," Fred interrupted. "Whatever you're thinking, no. They don't deserve your help." Aurora grabbed my chin, forcing me to look at her. "Listen to me, Lucia. Your whole life, you've tried to make yourself smaller to fit into their world. But you are not small. You are my granddaughter, and our knowledge runs deeper than their shallow roots." "But—" "No buts." She pulled out another kitchen chair. "Fred, sit. Both of you are going to help me prepare a batch of my summer facial oil." It's time Lucia remembered who she really is. For the next hour, Aurora guided us through the process, explaining each step with the patience of a born teacher. The familiar motion centered me, and I felt my clarity returning with each herb we crushed, each oil we blended. "See how the calendula petals release their oil?" she demonstrated. "You must coax it out gently, with respect. This is what they will never understand." My phone buzzed yet again, Tyler this time, with a voicemail. "Lucia, please, things are falling apart here. Mother she's not handling this well. We need to talk." Fred reached for my phone, but I stopped him. "No, wait. Maybe this is exactly what we need." "What do you mean?" I stood up, suddenly energized. "They're desperate. Their launch is failing. Their reputation is taking a hit, and they don't know how to fix it. So we let them stew for a bit longer. Then we launch our own line, the real thing, done right. And when they come begging for help—" Aurora's eyes sparkled. "Then you negotiate from a position of strength." I picked up the bottle of oil we'd just made, holding it to the light. The golden liquid seemed to glow from within. "Exactly. But first, we need to build something they can't touch." Fred grinned. I'll call those investors tonight. Aurora squeezed my hand. Now you're thinking like my granddaughter. I saved the latest voicemail from Tyler, but didn't play it. Let them worry. Let them scramble. I had work to do, and this time I wouldn't be doing it in their shadow. Fred, I said, already reaching for my laptop, call your contact at that organic farm co-op. We're going to need a lot of calendula, and that's why we source all our ingredients directly from small-scale organic farmers, I explained to the crowd gathered in our pop-up shop. 3 months of relentless work had transformed an empty storefront into a warm, inviting space filled with the scents of herbs and essential oils. A woman raised her hand. But isn't this the same formula that Hanson Beauty? Actually, Fred smoothly interjected from beside me, these are the original formulations developed by Lucia and her grandmother. We have extensive documentation of their development. The crowd murmured with interest. Our story had been spreading through social media, and the contrast between our authentic approach and Hanson Beauty's mass-produced disasters hadn't gone unnoticed. After the presentation, as customers lined up to sample our products, I spotted a familiar figure hovering near the entrance. Tyler. Go, Fred whispered. I've got this. I found Tyler examining our signature serum display. He looked tired with dark circles under his eyes and his usually perfect suit slightly rumpled. Impressive, he said, gesturing around the shop. Mother's furious, by the way. I'm devastated, I replied dryly. Why are you here, Tyler? He ran a hand through his hair. Can we talk? Somewhere private? I led him to our small back office, keeping the door open. Talk. The company's in trouble, Lucia. Real trouble. Hanson Beauty is hemorrhaging money, and the FDA is investigating the adverse reaction reports. That tends to happen when you steal formulas you don't understand. Paula's a mess. She barely leaves her apartment anymore. And Mother? He hesitated. She's not handling any of this well. And this concerns me because you're my wife, Tyler exploded. Because despite everything, we're still family. A customer peered curiously into the office. I lowered my voice. Family? Your mother stole my grandmother's legacy and handed it to Paula like a birthday present. Where was your concern for family then? I didn't know, he protested. I swear, Lucia, I had no idea what Mother was planning. But you didn't stop it either, did you? You just stood there. Before he could respond, Fred appeared in the doorway. Lucia, that reporter from the wellness blog is here for your interview. I'll be right there. I turned back to Tyler. If that's all. It's not. He pulled out his phone and pulled up a news article. Curtis Douglas is talking to the press. He's planning to blame the whole thing on Paula, paint her as a naive rich girl who got in over her head. Mother's letting it happen. That gave me pause. Paula might be spoiled, but she didn't deserve to take the fall for Meredith's schemes. The board meeting is next week, Tyler continued. They're going to vote on dissolving Hanson Beauty completely. Mother will probably survive it, but Paula? He shook his head. Her reputation will never recover. Why are you telling me this? Because you're the only one who can fix this. He met my eyes. And because despite what you think, I do love you. I miss you. Fred cleared his throat. Reporter's waiting. Tell her I'll be there in 5 minutes. I waited until Fred left before addressing Tyler. I can't help you. Can't? Or won't? Does it matter? Your mother made her choice. And now I'm making mine. He stepped closer. I'm backing your version of events at the board meeting. All of it. Mother will probably never speak to me again, but it's the right thing to do. I stared at him, searching for any sign of deception. Why now? Because watching you build this, he gestured around the shop, reminded me why I fell in love with you. Your passion, your integrity, everything Mother tried to dismiss as common. Through the open door, I could hear the buzz of customers. The gentle music we played, the soft clink of sample bottles. My shop, my dream, built exactly how I wanted it. The reporter's waiting, I said finally. Lucia. But, I cut him off. Have Paula call me, directly, not through you or your mother. Hope flickered across his face. You'll talk to her? I'll listen. That's all I'm promising. He nodded, then hesitated before leaning in to kiss my cheek. I really am sorry, he whispered. I watched him leave through the back door, then took a moment to compose myself before heading out to meet the reporter. Fred caught my eye questioningly. Paula might be calling, I told him. And maybe it's time we heard her side of the story. Fred looked skeptical, but nodded. Your call, but remember, we're finally winning. I touched one of our display bottles, remembering Aurora's words about strength and respect. Sometimes winning isn't about destroying your opponent, Fred. Sometimes it's about teaching them a better way. Just be careful, he warned. The Hansons aren't as powerful as they think they are. I finished. Trust me, I know exactly what I'm doing. But as I walked toward the waiting reporter, I wondered if that was really true. Was I opening myself up to another betrayal? Or was this the opportunity I'd been waiting for to set things right? On my terms? Paula looked nothing like her usual polished self when she slipped into the back of my grandmother's cafe 3 days later. Her designer clothes had been replaced by yoga pants and an oversized sweater, her perfect hair pulled back in a messy bun. I wasn't sure you'd come, I said, sliding a cup of Aurora's special tea across the table. I wasn't sure you'd agree to meet. She wrapped her hands around the cup but didn't drink. The press is camped outside my apartment. They're calling me a fraud. Aren't you? She flinched. I deserve that. You deserve worse. I know. She finally met my eyes. Mother said it would be simple. Just put my name on the brand, be the face of the company. I never thought what? That stealing someone's life work might have consequences? That people would get hurt. Tears welled in her eyes. Those reaction reports, those are real people, Lucia. And now Curtis is trying to pin everything on me, saying I rushed production without proper testing. I leaned back, studying her. But you didn't, did you? That was Meredith. Paula nodded miserably. Mother handles all the business decisions. Always has. She gestured vaguely. Show up and smile. And take credit for other people's work. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know it doesn't mean anything now, but I am so sorry. The cafe door chimed, and Aurora emerged from the kitchen, carrying a plate of her famous honey cookies. She set them down without a word and fixed Paula with a penetrating stare. These cookies, Aurora said finally, require exactly 17 minutes to bake. Not 16, not 18, 17. Do you know why? Paula blinked in confusion. No, because that's how long it takes for the honey to caramelize perfectly without burning. You cannot rush it. You cannot fake it. Nature has its own timeline. She turned to me. Just like your skincare formulas, yes? I nodded, understanding where she was going. The ingredients need proper time to blend, to mature. You can't mass-produce that process without compromising quality. But surely there must be a way to scale up production, Paula protested. The demand is there. There is, I agreed, but not the way Meredith did it. Not by cutting corners and substituting inferior ingredients. Aurora patted Paula's hand. You are not your mother, child. But you must decide who you want to be. Paula's phone buzzed. Meredith's face flashed on the screen. She declined the call with trembling fingers. The board meeting is tomorrow, she said. Curtis has already submitted his statement blaming me for everything. Mother hasn't even tried to defend me. And Tyler? I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. He's presenting evidence that the original formulas were yours. She managed a weak smile. I think he's finally standing up to Mother. Too late for damage control, though. I exchanged a look with Aurora, who nodded slightly. Maybe not. Paula's head snapped up. What do you mean? I could help fix this mess, but my terms would be non-negotiable. Anything, she said quickly. Name it. First, a public confession. The whole truth about where the formulas came from and who was really making the decisions. She paled but nodded. And? Second, complete creative control returns to me. Any future collaboration happens under my brand, my rules. Mother will never agree. Then she can watch her company collapse under FDA investigations and lawsuits. I stood up. Those are my terms. Take them or leave them. Paula stared at her untouched tea. She'll disown me. Probably, Aurora said gently, but perhaps it's time to own your own life, yes? Paula's phone buzzed again. Another call from Meredith. This time, she turned the phone off completely. Okay, she said quietly. I'll do it. All of it. Write it down, I instructed, pushing a notepad toward her. Everything. From the beginning. We'll need it for tomorrow. As Paula began writing, Aurora pulled me aside. Are you sure about this, mija? Helping them after everything? I watched Paula's shoulders shake as she documented her mother's deception. I'm not doing it for Meredith. Sometimes the best revenge is forcing people to face their own truth. And Tyler? That's complicated. Aurora squeezed my hand. Life usually is, but you're handling it with grace. Paula looked up from her writing, tears streaming down her face. I never wanted to hurt anyone, she said. I just wanted Mother to be proud of me. I know, I replied, surprising myself with the gentleness in my voice. But tomorrow, you have a chance to make yourself proud instead. She nodded and returned to writing, while I began drafting the statement that would either save or destroy the Hanson family's reputation. Either way, by this time tomorrow, everything would change. The Hanson corporate boardroom felt colder than I remembered. I sat between Fred and Tyler, watching Meredith's face as she read Paula's written confession. Her perfectly manicured fingers crumpled the edges of the paper. This is ridiculous, she finally spat, throwing the pages across the table. Paula is clearly under duress. I'm not, Paula said quietly from her seat. She looked small in her formal blazer, but her voice was steady. Every word is true, Mother. Curtis Douglas cleared his throat. The board needs to consider the legal implications. If what Paula's saying is correct, it's not, Meredith cut in. This is obviously some ploy by Lucia to what? Tyler interrupted. To expose the truth? I have copies of all Lucia's original documentation, including security footage showing you accessing her office after hours. The board members murmured amongst themselves. I caught fragments of their whispered conversation. FDA investigation. Stock price falling. Public relations nightmare. Meredith's smile turned razor sharp. Lucia, dear, surely we can discuss this privately, as family, like how we discussed stealing my formulas? I pulled out my laptop. I have a proposition for the board, one that could salvage this situation. The board doesn't need... I think we'd like to hear it, the chairwoman interjected, silencing Meredith with a look. I opened my presentation. My brand has been growing steadily, with zero adverse reactions and excellent customer retention. I'm prepared to enter into a partnership with Hanson Corp, but only under specific conditions. Which are? Curtis leaned forward, suddenly interested. First, full creative control returns to me. Second, Paula stays on as brand ambassador, but only after she makes a public statement explaining exactly what happened. Absolutely not! Meredith slammed her hand on the table. Paula, tell them you won't. I already agreed. Paula said. Her voice cracked, but she continued. I'm tired of lying, Mother. Tired of pretending. Pretending what? Meredith scoffed. That I'm happy, that I wanted any of this. Paula stood up, tears streaming down her face. Do you know why I never launched my own business? Because you convinced me I wasn't capable of anything except being pretty and following orders. The boardroom fell silent. Even Curtis looked uncomfortable. Everything I've ever done, Paula continued, was to make you proud. But it's never enough, is it? And now you're letting me take the fall for your decisions. I was protecting our family name, Meredith hissed. By destroying mine? Paula laughed bitterly. I'm pregnant, Mother. 5 months. I've been hiding it because I knew you'd see it as another failure. The revelation hit the room like a thunderbolt. I saw Tyler's jaw drop. Clearly, this was news to him, too. That's why I agreed to be the face of this company. Paula wiped her eyes. One last chance to prove my worth before you found out. But I can't. I won't let my child grow up watching me lie and steal and hurt people just to earn your approval. Meredith's face had gone chalk white. You're pregnant? Who? Does it matter? You'll probably just try to control that, too. I cleared my throat. The offer stands. Paula makes the statement. I take creative control, and we rebuild the brand properly, together. Otherwise, I release everything to the press. The chairwoman adjusted her glasses. Mrs. Hanson, given the circumstances, I strongly suggest. Fine. Meredith's voice could have frozen hell. Do whatever you want. You've already turned my daughter against me. No, Mother, Paula said softly. You did that yourself. Tyler reached for my hand under the table. I let him take it, feeling the familiar warmth of his palm against mine. I'll have legal draw up the paperwork, the chairwoman announced. In the meantime, I believe we should suspend all current Hanson Beauty operations pending the restructuring. As the board members filed out, Meredith remained seated, staring at nothing. For the first time, I saw her as she really was, not an untouchable society queen, but a woman who'd sacrificed everything, including her daughter's love, for control. Paula touched my arm. Thank you for giving me a chance to make this right. Don't thank me yet, I warned. The hard part's still coming. I know, but at least it'll be honest. She gathered her things, pausing at the door. Mother, I have an ultrasound appointment next week. You're welcome to come, if you want. Meredith didn't respond. Paula left quietly, leaving me alone with Tyler and his mother. Well, Tyler said, standing, I suppose we should. You'll regret this, Meredith said suddenly, looking directly at me. All of you? I met her gaze steadily. No, Meredith, the only regret here is that you never understood the difference between power and strength. Taking Tyler's arm, I walked out of the boardroom, leaving Meredith alone with the scattered pages of her daughter's confession. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, but for now, the truth was finally out. And sometimes, that's the strongest revenge of all. Deep breaths, I coached Paula as the makeup artist made final touches. Remember, just tell the truth. We were backstage at a major morning show, minutes away from the interview that would either save or destroy both our reputations. Paula's baby bump was now visible in her simple navy dress. She'd insisted on showing it, tired of hiding. What if I freeze? She whispered. What if? Then I'll be right there beside you. I checked my own appearance in the mirror. Just like we practiced. Tyler appeared with 3 water bottles. 5 minutes to air. Mother's in the green room. She actually came? Paula's eyes widened. Probably to make sure we don't completely destroy the family name, I muttered. The producer stuck her head in. Ladies, we're ready for you. The studio lights were blinding as we took our seats across from the host, Sarah. who was known for her tough interviews. My palms were sweating, but I kept my expression calm. This morning, we're joined by Paula Hansen and Lucia Lynch to discuss the recent controversy surrounding Hansen Beauty, Sarah began. Paula, let's start with you. There have been serious allegations about the origin of your skincare line. Paula gripped her water bottle. Yes, and they're true. All of them. Her voice shook slightly. The formulas were stolen from Lucia, my sister-in-law. She developed them based on her grandmother's traditional recipes. That's a serious admission? Sarah leaned forward. Why come clean now? Because I'm about to become a mother myself. Paula rested a hand on her bump. And I want my child to be proud of me. Real pride, not the kind that comes from stealing and lying. From the corner of my eye, I saw Meredith shift in her seat in the green room. Lucia, Sarah turned to me. These formulas were your family's legacy. How do you feel sitting here now? Honestly, I'm proud of Paula for telling the truth. It takes courage to admit when you've been wrong. But you're not just here to clear the air, are you? I understand there's a new business arrangement. Yes, I smiled. We're relaunching the line under my direction, with Paula as brand ambassador. But this time, we're doing it right. Ethical sourcing, proper production methods, no shortcuts. And the adverse reactions customers reported were the result of rushed production and substituted ingredients, Paula cut in. That was my mother's decision, not Lucia's formula. I should have spoken up then, but I was too afraid. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Afraid of what? Paula took a deep breath. Of disappointing my mother, of losing my place in the family. But I've realized there are worse things than disappointment, like looking in the mirror and not recognizing yourself anymore. In the green room, Meredith stood up abruptly. For a moment, I thought she might storm the set, but instead, she walked out. What would you say to customers who trusted Hansen Beauty? Sarah pressed. I'm sorry, Paula's voice cracked. We betrayed your trust, but Lucia's giving me a chance to make it right, to be part of something authentic. The new line will honor her grandmother's legacy while creating my own. Speaking of which, Sarah smiled, I understand you brought samples of the rebranded products? I reached under my chair for the gift bags. Yes, these are from our first official collaboration. Each bottle includes both our stories, the truth about where these formulas came from and where they're going. As we demonstrated the products, I watched Paula explain the ingredients with genuine enthusiasm. She'd spent weeks learning everything about the process, determined to earn her place this time. After the segment, Tyler met us backstage. That was incredible, both of you. Mother left, Paula said quietly. I know, but that's her loss. He hugged his sister. I'm proud of you, Paula, and I can't wait to be an uncle. Fred appeared with his tablet. Orders are already coming in. The website's crashing from traffic. And the comments? I asked. Overwhelmingly positive. People love a redemption story, especially an honest one. Paula touched my arm. Thank you for giving me a second chance. Thank you for being brave enough to take it. Ladies, the producer called. People magazine is here for your photo shoot. As we headed to the next interview, I received a text from Aurora. Watch the show. You both did good, Mika. Sometimes the strongest seeds grow from broken ground. I showed the message to Paula, who smiled through her tears. Your grandmother is very wise. She is, and she's excited to teach you the proper way to harvest calendula. Really? Even after everything? Family isn't just about blood, Paula. It's about choices. You made the right one today. We paused outside the photo studio, where journalists were already gathering. Paula squared her shoulders, one hand protectively over her bump. Ready? I asked. She nodded. Ready to start over, the right way this time. Together, we pushed open the doors, stepping into the bright lights of our new beginning. Sometimes I realized the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemies, it's about transforming them into allies. The lavender needs to be harvested before sunrise, I explained to Paula as we walked through the organic farm that supplied our ingredients. 3 months had passed since the television confession, and our rebranded line was thriving. The essential oil content is highest then. Paula, now visibly pregnant, touched a purple stem gently. Mother always said getting your hands dirty was beneath us. Speaking of Meredith, I hesitated. Have you heard from her? Not since the interview. Tyler says she's in Switzerland, recovering from the scandal. Paula made air quotes with her fingers. At least Curtis finally backed off after the legal team got involved. A familiar car pulled up to the farm's entrance. Tyler, carrying coffee and breakfast. He'd been staying at my grandmother's guest house while we figured out our marriage, taking things slow. "Morning, ladies," he called out, balancing a tray of cups. "Aurora sent muffins." "Your grandmother's been feeding me constantly," Paula laughed. "She says the baby needs proper nourishment, not those silly diet foods I used to eat." "She's right," I smiled, accepting a coffee from Tyler. "Speaking of the baby, how was the doctor's appointment?" Paula's face lit up. "It's a girl. I'm having a daughter." Tyler hugged his sister. "That's wonderful. Have you thought about names?" "Actually," Paula looked at me nervously. "I was thinking of Aurora, if that's okay." I nearly dropped my coffee. "You want to name her after my grandmother? She's shown me more maternal kindness in 3 months than Mother has in 30 years. Plus," Paula stroked her belly, "I want my daughter to have a strong name, one that represents healing and new beginnings." Before I could respond, Fred's truck came barreling down the dirt road, kicking up dust. "Turn on your phones," he shouted, jumping out. Meredith just went on live with Regina Ford. Regina Ford was the most watched morning show host in the country. We huddled around Fred's tablet, watching the stream. Meredith sat primly in a designer suit, looking perfectly composed. "I've come to set the record straight about my daughter's performance 3 months ago." "Oh, God," Paula whispered. Paula was under tremendous stress, Meredith continued smoothly. The pregnancy hormones, the pressure of running a company. She became confused about certain events. Regina leaned forward. "Are you saying her confession was false?" "I'm saying she was manipulated by Lucia, my daughter-in-law, who saw an opportunity to take control of our family business." Tyler swore under his breath. "Mother, what are you doing?" "But the documentation," Regina pressed. "The security footage." "Easily manipulated," Meredith waved dismissively. "The truth is, Hanson Beauty was always a family enterprise. Lucia simply couldn't accept that she wasn't the center of attention." My phone started buzzing with notifications. The stock market was reacting, our share price fluctuating wildly. "We have to respond," Fred said urgently. "Right now." Paula straightened up, her face set. "Yes, we do." She pulled out her phone and dialed a number. "Regina's producer? This is Paula Hanson. I need to go live, immediately." 20 minutes later, we were watching Paula on the same show, facing her mother via split screen. "Mother," Paula's voice was steady, "stop lying." "Darling, you're not well." "I'm perfectly well. In fact, I'm healthier than I've ever been." Paula held up one of our products. "This is the truth. Every ingredient, every formula. Lucia's grandmother taught me how to make it properly, with respect for the process and the plants." "Paula." "I'm naming my daughter Aurora," Paula continued, "after the woman who showed me what real maternal love looks like, who taught me that success built on lies isn't success at all." Meredith's perfect mask cracked slightly. "You're choosing them over your own mother?" "No, Mother. I'm choosing truth over lies, pride over shame, Love over fear. Paula took a deep breath. And if you ever want to meet your granddaughter, you'll need to do the same. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Meredith disconnected without another word. Regina turned to Paula. That was incredibly powerful. It was necessary, Paula replied simply. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get back to work. We're harvesting lavender this morning. When the segment ended, Paula collapsed into Tyler's arms, shaking. Did I just do that? You did, he confirmed, holding her tight. And it was amazing. Fred was checking his phone. Social media's exploding. Support messages are pouring in. The stock's stabilizing. I touched Paula's shoulder. You okay? She wiped her eyes, managing a smile. You know what? I actually am. For the first time in my life, I feel free. The sun was rising over the lavender field, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Aurora would be waiting at the farmhouse with breakfast and wisdom, ready to teach us more about the plants and life itself. Come on, I said, picking up my harvesting basket. The lavender's waiting, and this time we're doing it right. Together, we walked into the field, leaving Meredith's lies behind us like morning mist burning away in the sun. She's perfect, I whispered, cradling baby Aurora in the hospital room while Paula rested. The newborn's tiny fingers wrapped around my thumb with surprising strength. Tyler leaned over my shoulder, gently touching his niece's dark curls. She looks just like Paula did as a baby. A soft knock at the door made us turn. My grandmother Aurora stood there, arms full of fresh flowers and homemade food. Behind her, surprisingly, was Meredith. The room fell silent. Paula stirred, opening her eyes. Mother? Meredith looked smaller somehow, less polished than usual. She carried a simple white gift bag. I saw the birth announcement in the society pages. You mean you saw it 6 hours ago when I was in labor? Paula's voice was tired but sharp. And you're just showing up now? Meredith faltered. I wasn't sure I'd be welcome. That depends, Paula said. Are you here as the woman who tried to destroy our business last month, or as a grandmother? Meredith's carefully composed expression cracked. I brought something. She pulled out an old, worn baby blanket from the gift bag. This was yours. I kept it all these years. Paula's eyes filled with tears. My butterfly blanket? I thought you threw it away when I turned 10. You said it wasn't sophisticated enough. I couldn't. Meredith's voice wavered. It was the last thing you loved before I started. Before I made you think love had to be earned. I stood up, still holding baby Aurora. Would you like to hold your granddaughter? Meredith looked startled, then hesitant. I should probably go. Mother, Paula interrupted. Stay, please. As I placed the baby in Meredith's arms, my grandmother stepped forward. The blanket needs washing first, she said practically. I'll show you how to do it properly, with gentle herbs, for the baby's sensitive skin. Meredith looked up sharply, perhaps expecting judgment, but Aurora's face showed only kindness. I'd like that, Meredith said softly. Tyler squeezed my hand as we watched the 3 generations of women gather around the baby. Think there's hope? He whispered. There's always hope, I replied. Sometimes it just needs time to bloom. Fred burst in, barely containing his excitement. Sorry to interrupt, but you all need to see this. He held up his tablet, showing the latest market reports. Our skincare line had just been picked up by a major international retailer, with the condition that we maintain our ethical production methods and family-centered approach. They love our story, Fred explained. The authenticity, the reconciliation, the traditional methods. They want us to develop an entire legacy collection. Paula laughed. Mother, Remember how you said small batch production would never scale? I was wrong about many things, Meredith admitted, still cradling the baby. Perhaps you could show me how it's done properly? My grandmother touched Meredith's shoulder. First lesson, everything worthwhile takes time. Babies, healing, even face cream. Speaking of face cream, I added, we're harvesting roses tomorrow at dawn. The whole family is welcome. Dawn? Meredith looked horrified, then caught herself. I suppose I could try it. Once. Wear comfortable shoes, Paula advised with a grin. And prepare to get dirty. Baby Aurora chose that moment to cry, and we all watched as Meredith instinctively began to sway, humming softly. It was the most human I'd ever seen her. You know, Tyler said quietly, the Legacy Collection needs a proper launch event. No more ballrooms, I warned. No more pretense. I was thinking the farm, he suggested, under the stars, surrounded by the herbs and flowers that make everything possible. With Aurora's honey cookies, Paula added, and my organic tea, my grandmother chimed in. Meredith looked around the room, then down at her granddaughter. And perhaps I could share some stories about Paula as a baby, the real ones, not the society column versions. I'd like that, Paula smiled, all of it. As if in agreement, baby Aurora cooed, reaching up toward the window where the morning sun was streaming in. Outside, the hospital garden bloomed with the same herbs we used in our products, nature's reminder that growth was always possible. Well then, I said, pulling out my phone to start planning. Let's create something beautiful, together. Tyler kissed my cheek. Together sounds perfect. I looked around the room, at Paula's tired but happy face, at Meredith's tentative steps toward change, at my grandmother's knowing smile, at Fred's excited business plans, at Tyler's loving support, and at little Aurora, who represented all our hopes for the future. This was better than revenge, better than winning. This was family, messy and real and healing, like the gardens we tended and the products we created. Not perfect, but authentic, not flawless, but growing. And tomorrow at dawn, we'd all be in the fields together, harvesting roses and new beginnings, writing our legacy one genuine moment at a time.
The letter trembled in my hands as the world crashed around me. $250,000. Gone. Just like that. The college fund I'd spent 17 years building for my daughter had vanished into thin air. I'm Anna, and until today, I thought I was living proof that hard work and determination could overcome anything. Starting with nothing but a food truck and a dream, I built a successful catering company that serves half of Boston's elite. Every extra penny went into Emma's future. My daughter would have opportunities I never had. Mom? Emma's voice drifted down from upstairs. Have you seen my blue sweater? Check the laundry room, honey, I called back, struggling to keep my voice steady. The acceptance letter from Stanford lay on my kitchen counter, mocking me. Emma had earned her spot. Perfect grades, volunteer work, the whole package. But now... My phone buzzed. Deborah's name flashed across the screen. My mother-in-law's timing was impeccable, as always. Anna, darling, her sugary voice made my stomach turn. I simply must know if Emma's wearing the pearl necklace I gave her to prom next week. Deborah. I cut her off, my voice ice cold. The college fund is empty. Care to explain? Silence crackled through the line. Then, oh, that. Well, there were some unexpected investments. Investments? I gripped the counter so hard my knuckles turned white. You were supposed to be managing that account for Emma's future, not gambling it away at Mohegan Sun. Don't take that tone with me, Deborah snapped. I am still your mother-in-law, and... You're my ex-husband's mother, who convinced me to let you manage Emma's college fund because of your financial expertise. Was that all a lie, too? These things happen in investing, Anna. You'll simply have to get over it. Perhaps Emma should consider community college? It would be more appropriate for your situation anyway. The line went dead. I stood there, shaking with rage, when Emma appeared in the doorway. Mom? What's wrong? I turned to face my daughter, my beautiful, brilliant girl who deserved the world. Her blue eyes, so like her father's, were filled with concern. Nothing, sweetie, I forced a smile. Just a work issue. Did you find your sweater? She nodded slowly, clearly not buying it. Are you sure? You look really upset. Actually, I hesitated. Why don't we grab coffee? There's something we need to discuss. 20 minutes later, we sat in our favorite corner booth at Joe's Cafe. Emma wrapped her hands around her caramel latte, waiting. The thing is, I took a deep breath. There's been an issue with your college fund. What kind of issue? Grandma Deborah. She was supposed to be managing it, investing it safely. But instead, my voice cracked. Emma's face paled. It's gone? All of it? I nodded, watching my daughter's dreams crumble before my eyes. I'm so sorry, baby. I trusted her and she... Does Dad know? Not yet, but he will. I reached across the table, taking her trembling hands in mine. Listen to me, Emma. This changes nothing. We'll figure it out. I'll take out loans, work double shifts, whatever it takes. You're going to Stanford. Emma pulled her hands away. I can't believe Grandma would do this. She always said... Her voice trailed off as tears welled up in her eyes. I know, honey. I know. My phone buzzed again. A text from Deborah. Don't make this into a bigger deal than it needs to be. Family should forgive family. I stared at the message, my jaw clenched. Forgive? The woman had stolen my daughter's future and had the audacity to demand forgiveness? Mom? Emma's voice was small. What are we going to do? I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. In that moment, I made a decision. Deborah thought she could manipulate and steal from us without consequences. She thought wrong. We're going to fight back, I said quietly, and we're going to win. Emma's eyes widened. What do you mean? It means, I said, pulling out my phone to call my sister Lacey, that your grandmother is about to learn a very important lesson about family and trust. As I dialed, my hands stopped shaking. Calm settled over me like a shield. Deborah had no idea what she'd started, but she was about to find out exactly what happened when you crossed the wrong mother. Lacey, I said when my sister picked up, I need your help. It's time we had a proper family reunion. Look at this, Lacey said, spreading bank statements across my dining room table. Every month, like clockwork, $5,000 transferred to an account in Atlantic City. I leaned over her shoulder, scanning the documents. And Emma's college fund? Drained gradually over 2 years. Lacey tapped her laptop screen. Deborah covered her tracks well, but she got sloppy near the end, probably desperate. My sister had always been the detail-oriented one. While I built my business, she became a forensic accountant. Now her skills were proving invaluable. There's more, she continued. Remember Cousin Peter's inheritance from Aunt Marie? The one he supposedly lost in the stock market crash? Lacey's eyes narrowed. Deborah was his financial advisor, too. The pieces were falling into place. I grabbed my phone, scrolling through recent texts. Marcel called yesterday, said Deborah's been acting strange, taking mysterious trips. To casinos, no doubt. Lacey closed her laptop. Anna, this isn't just about Emma's college fund anymore. Deborah's been stealing from the entire family. A knock at the door interrupted us. Emma burst in, followed by her friends from the volleyball team. Mom, is it okay if we have pizza here? Practice ran late and... She stopped short, taking in the papers scattered everywhere. Of course, honey. I started gathering the documents. Hi, girls, the menu drawer is in the kitchen. Thanks, Anna. They rushed past, giggling. Emma lingered, her eyes fixed on the bank statements. More bad news? Just doing some research, I said carefully. Go be with your friends. She hesitated. Mom, I know you're planning something. I'm not stupid. Emma, just don't do anything crazy, okay? She turned and followed her friends. Lacey waited until the kitchen door swung shut.
She's worried about you. She should be worried about her grandmother, I muttered, pulling out my phone to show her Deborah's latest text. Looking forward to Emma's birthday dinner tomorrow? I have a special surprise planned. The nerve of that woman. Lacey shook her head. Are you still going through with it? Of course. Can't let her suspect anything's wrong. I forced a smile. Besides, the whole family will be there. Perfect opportunity to observe. The next evening, my catering company's finest setup graced Deborah's sprawling Victorian home. Emma's 18th birthday dinner was in full swing, with family members scattered throughout the house. Anna, darling, Deborah air-kissed my cheek. The food is divine, as always, though perhaps a bit simple for such a special occasion. I maintained my smile. Emma requested her favorites. Yes, well... Deborah adjusted her pearl necklace, probably bought with stolen money. Speaking of Emma's preferences, I've been thinking about her college choices. Stanford is so far away. The local university has an excellent program. Mom, Raymond, my ex-husband, called from across the room. Have you seen my wallet? Check your coat pocket, dear, Deborah called back, but I caught the flash of panic in her eyes. I excused myself and found Lacey by the dessert table. Notice anything? Besides Raymond missing his wallet? She smirked. Marcel's been watching Deborah like a hawk all evening. Think he suspects? Maybe. Did you see how she reacted when Emma opened the envelope from Stanford? Like she'd swallowed a lemon. Lacey paused. Speaking of envelopes, I got an interesting call today. Remember that tip you received? Before she could continue, a commotion erupted from the study. Raymond's voice boomed through the house. Mom, what the hell is this? We rushed to find Raymond waving a stack of papers, his face red. Deborah stood frozen by the desk. Raymond, dear, those are private... Private! These are withdrawal slips from my investment account. He turned to Marcel. Dad, did you know about this? Marcel's face went ashen. What? The room fell silent as Emma appeared in the doorway. What's going on? Nothing, sweetheart, Deborah said quickly. Just a little family discussion about finances. I watched my daughter's expression harden. She wasn't buying it anymore. Anna, Reuben, my business partner, touched my arm. Maybe we should serve the cake now? I nodded, but my mind was racing. This was just the beginning. Raymond's discovery would plant seeds of doubt, but I needed more. The family reunion next month would be my real opportunity. As we gathered around the dining table to sing Happy Birthday, I studied Deborah's face in the candlelight. Her perfect mask was cracking. Soon it would shatter completely. Emma caught my eye across the cake, her expression worried. I gave her a reassuring smile, but inside, my resolve hardened. Deborah had built her house of lies on the backs of her own family. Now it was time to watch it burn. Make a wish, sweetheart, Deborah called out as Emma prepared to blow out her candles. I already had my wish, justice, and I was going to make it come true. A family reunion? Marcel's voice crackled through my phone speaker. Now? It's been 5 years since the whole family got together, I said, keeping my tone light. After everything that happened at Emma's birthday party, I think we need this. I suppose you're right, he sighed. We can host it here. The garden's lovely in June. Perfect. Marcel and Deborah's house was exactly where I needed this to happen. That's so generous. I'll handle all the arrangements. Anna. Marcel hesitated. Have you noticed anything unusual about Deborah lately? Like what? She's been receiving strange calls, disappearing for hours, and after what Raymond found. Maybe we can talk about it at the reunion, I suggested carefully. In person. After hanging up, I opened my laptop to check the guest list. Each invitation had been strategically planned. Cousin Peter, still bitter about his lost inheritance. Aunt Marie, who never believed his stock market story. Raymond, now questioning everything. The pieces were falling into place. My office door creaked open. Emma stood there, arms crossed. A family reunion? Seriously? I thought it would be nice. Stop. She stepped inside, closing the door. You've been whispering with Aunt Lacey for weeks, making secret phone calls. Now this? What are you planning? Emma, no more lies, Mom. I deserve to know. I studied my daughter's face, so young, yet so perceptive. Sit down. She perched on the edge of my desk, waiting. Your grandmother didn't just take your college fund, I began. She's been stealing from everyone. Cousin Peter, your dad, even Marcel. And the reunion is what? Your chance for revenge? Justice, I corrected. She needs to face what she's done. Emma's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then held it up. Grandma just texted me. Says she's worried about you, that you're acting erratic since the investment mishap. My blood boiled. Investment mishap? Mom. Emma's voice softened. I'm mad too. But this plotting, these secrets, it's changing you. Before I could respond, my own phone chimed. An anonymous email. Regarding Deborah, there's more. Meet at Joe's Cafe, 3 p.m. tomorrow. What is it? Emma asked. I locked my screen. Work stuff. She stood up, hurt flickering across her face. Right, more secrets. Emma, wait. But she was already gone, the door clicking shut behind her. The next day, I arrived at Joe's Cafe early, scanning the crowd. A man in a dark suit caught my eye and nodded toward a corner booth. Mrs. Anna? He extended his hand. I'm David. I work for the State Gaming Commission. My heart raced. Gaming Commission? We've been monitoring your mother-in-law's activities at several casinos. The patterns suggest a serious gambling addiction, but that's not why I'm here. He slid a folder across the table. We've uncovered evidence of money laundering. My hands shook as I opened the folder. Bank statements, casino receipts, photographs of Deborah with known criminals. Why are you showing me this? Because she's not just hurting your family anymore. We're building a case, but we need witnesses willing to testify. I closed the folder. I need time to think. Of course. He placed his card on the table. But don't wait too long. That evening, I found Emma in her room, studying. Can we talk? She didn't look up from her textbook. Are you finally going to tell me the truth? I sat on her bed. I'm trying to protect you. By becoming just like her? Emma slammed her book shut. Grandma lies. She manipulates. And now you're doing the same thing. Her words hit like a slap. This is different. Is it? She finally met my eyes. Because from where I'm sitting, you're both just hurting the family in different ways. My phone buzzed. Another text from Deborah. Looking forward to the reunion, darling. Though I do hope you're not working too hard on the arrangements. You seem stressed lately. Emma read the message over my shoulder. She's playing you, Mom, and you're letting her. I'm trying to make things right. No, Emma stood up. You're trying to make her pay. There's a difference. She walked out, leaving me alone with my thoughts and David's business card burning a hole in my pocket. The reunion was 2 weeks away. I had set everything in motion, pulled all the strings. But as I listened to Emma's door close down the hall, I wondered if the price of revenge might be higher than I'd calculated. The question was, could I stop now, even if I wanted to? My phone buzzed again. Lacey, you need to see this. Another victim just came forward. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and made my choice. There was no turning back now. The reunion buzzed with forced cheerfulness as family members filled Marcel and Deborah's backyard. I watched from the catering table as Deborah worked the crowd, her laugh just a touch too bright, her gestures slightly too animated. Everything's ready, Reuben murmured, appearing at my side, though I still think you should let me handle the service staff. No, I said firmly. I need to oversee this personally. He touched my arm. Anna, I've known you for 10 years. This isn't you. You don't know what she's done. Actually, I do. He nodded toward Emma, who was helping younger cousins fill their plates. And so does she. Maybe it's time to... Anna, Deborah's voice cut through our conversation. Darling, the appetizers are divine, though perhaps a bit heavy on the garlic? I plastered on a smile. Just following the recipe you gave me, Deborah. Family secret, remember? Her eyes narrowed slightly. Before she could respond, Cousin Peter approached. Deborah, he said coldly, we need to talk about Aunt Marie's inheritance. Peter, dear, this isn't the time. When is the time? His voice rose. When you've gambled away someone else's future? Heads turned. Deborah's smile faltered. Peter, Marcel stepped in. Perhaps we should— No, Dad. Raymond appeared, drink in hand. Let's hear what Peter has to say. In fact, I have some questions too. I moved among the guests, topping off wine glasses, catching snippets of conversation, Aunt Marie cornering Deborah about bank statements, Marcel questioning missing jewelry. The whispers grew louder, the accusations harder to deflect. Emma caught my eye from across the yard. She shook her head slightly before turning away. Dinner is served, I announced, directing everyone to the elegant tables set up on the lawn. As family members took their seats, I noticed Deborah's hands shaking as she reached for her water glass. Raymond sat as far from her as possible, while Marcel looked lost, caught between loyalty and suspicion. Before we eat, Deborah stood, raising her glass. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Family is everything to me. Is it? Peter interrupted. Is that why you told me the stock market crashed when you actually— That's enough, Deborah snapped, her composure cracking. I will not be accused. Mom. Raymond's voice was quiet but firm. What did you do with my investment account? The garden fell silent. Even the children stopped chattering. There were complications? Deborah's voice wavered. Complications? Aunt Marie stood up. Like when you complicated away my sister's inheritance? You don't understand, Deborah pleaded. I had a system. I was going to win it all back. The words hung in the air. Marcel's fork clattered to his plate. Win it back? He whispered. Deborah, what have you done? She turned to him, desperate. Marcel, I can explain. Explain what? Raymond demanded. How you stole from your own family. How you gambled away Emma's future. I did not steal. Deborah's voice rose hysterically. I borrowed. I was protecting our family's assets. By betting them away at casinos? I couldn't help myself. Is that what you call protection? You. Deborah's eyes locked onto mine. You orchestrated this, didn't you? Turned my family against me? You did that yourself, I said quietly. Every time you lied. Every time you stole. Mom? Emma's voice cut through the tension. She stood, tears in her eyes. Is it true? Did you really gamble away everything? Deborah's face crumpled. Emma, sweetheart, I never meant— Save it. Emma pushed back her chair. I don't want to hear any more lies. She walked away, disappearing into the house. I moved to follow, but Reuben caught my arm. Let her go, he murmured. She needs space. The evening dissolved into chaos after that. Marcel retreated to his study. Raymond stormed out. Aunt Marie demanded financial records. Through it all, Deborah sat silent, her perfect mask finally shattered. As guests began leaving, I overheard a conversation that made my blood run cold. Did you hear? One cousin whispered to another. Someone called the gaming commission. They're investigating her. I froze. I hadn't made that call yet. Which meant— My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Deborah's house of cards is falling. Tomorrow's papers will be interesting. You're not the only one she betrayed. I looked up to see Deborah staring at her own phone, her face ash-white. Whatever was coming, it was bigger than I'd planned. Later, as I packed up the catering supplies, Emma appeared beside me. Happy now? She asked quietly. You got what you wanted. I watched Deborah through the window, sitting alone in her once perfect garden. Did I? Mom. Emma's voice cracked. What happens next? I wished I knew. The revenge I'd planned was spinning beyond my control, and somewhere in the chaos I'd lost sight of what really mattered. I don't know, honey, I admitted. I really don't know. The morning headlines hit like a tsunami. Local socialite under investigation for gambling fraud. Deborah's photograph splashed across the front page, emerging from a casino with a man I didn't recognize. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Lacey sent a string of messages. Turn on the news. Channel 7. Now. I flipped on the TV just as Emma came downstairs. The reporter's voice filled our kitchen. Allegations of extensive gambling debts and financial fraud spanning multiple states. Sources say Deborah allegedly used her position as a family financial advisor to— Mom, Emma's voice was hollow. Everyone at school will see this. Before I could respond, our doorbell rang. Raymond stood there, looking haggard. Did you do this? He demanded, waving a newspaper. Call the authorities? No, I said truthfully, but I was going to. He pushed past me into the house. Do you have any idea what you've started? The police are at my parents' house right now. Dad? Emma appeared in the hallway. What's happening? Raymond's anger deflated at the sight of his daughter. Hey, kiddo, it's complicated. Everything's complicated lately, she muttered, grabbing her backpack. I'm going to be late for school. Emma, wait, I called, but the front door slammed behind her. My phone rang. Marcel. Anna? His voice trembled. They're taking her away. The police. They say there's evidence. Gambling debts to dangerous people. I'm coming over, I said, already grabbing my keys. The scene at Marcel and Deborah's house was surreal. Police cars lined the driveway. Neighbors peered from behind curtains as officers led Deborah out in handcuffs. This is all a misunderstanding, she kept saying, her designer outfit wrinkled, her makeup smeared. Then she saw me. You did this to me. Mrs. Williams, a detective stepped between us. Please keep moving. She orchestrated this whole thing, Deborah shouted. She turned my family against me. I trusted you, I shouted back, emotions finally boiling over. We all trusted you. Emma's college fund, Raymond's investments, Peter's inheritance. Was any of it ever safe with you? You don't understand, Deborah's voice cracked. I had debts. They were threatening me. The detective's head snapped up. Who was threatening you? Deborah's face went white. She pressed her lips together, suddenly silent. Marcel emerged from the house, looking decades older. They found evidence, Anna. So much evidence. Bank statements, IOUs, letters from loan sharks. Marcel, Deborah pleaded as they led her toward the police car. Tell them I was protecting our family. Tell them— Protecting us? Marcel's voice rose. By stealing from our granddaughter? By gambling away our retirement? By getting involved with criminals? I can explain everything. Then explain this. He held up a stack of papers. Explain why I found transfer records to offshore accounts. Explain the threatening letters from casino owners. Explain why our house is mortgaged to people I've never heard of. Deborah's carefully constructed world crumbled visibly. I was going to fix everything. One more bet, one more game. How much? I asked quietly. How much did you lose in total? She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. 3 million, maybe more. The number hung in the air like a death sentence. And Emma's college fund? Raymond demanded. Was that part of your gambling spree too? I needed it for collateral, Deborah burst out. These people, they were going to hurt us if I didn't pay. I thought I could win it back before anyone noticed. I just needed more time. A black SUV pulled up. 2 men in suits emerged, flashing FBI badges. Mrs. Williams, one said, we need to ask you some questions about your connections to organized crime. Deborah sagged in the officer's grip. Marcel, please, don't let them take me. But Marcel turned away, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. I watched as they drove Deborah away, sirens silent but lights flashing. The woman who'd stolen my daughter's future, who'd manipulated our entire family, reduced to a headline in tomorrow's paper. Anna, Raymond touched my arm. Did you know about the criminal connections? No, I whispered. I just wanted her to admit what she'd done. I never thought— My phone buzzed. Emma. Just saw the news. Coming home. We need to talk. Looking at Marcel's broken expression, at Raymond's devastated face, at the neighbors recording everything on their phones, I realized Emma had been right. In my quest for justice, I'd helped destroy our family in a different way. The FBI agents approached us. We'll need statements from everyone. This investigation goes deeper than just gambling debts. As I nodded numbly, another text came through from an unknown number. Deborah's not the only one who'll pay for her sins. The house of cards is still falling. I looked up at the beautiful home where we'd celebrated so many family gatherings, where Emma had grown up visiting her grandparents, where everything had seemed perfect on the surface. Now I wondered what other secrets those walls held, and who else would be destroyed before this was over. "The FBI wants to interview me?" Emma's voice shook as she paced our living room. "About Grandma?" "Only if you're comfortable," I assured her. "They just want to understand when she started managing the college fund." "This is insane." She collapsed onto the couch. "My friends keep sending me links to news articles. Someone at school made a meme about it." The doorbell rang. Reuben stood there, holding a paper bag. "I brought dinner. Figured you both could use it." "Thanks." I managed a weak smile. "Come in." He started unpacking containers of comfort food onto our kitchen counter when my phone rang. "Marcel." "Anna?" His voice was rough. "They're seizing the house. Something about evidence and liens. I don't understand any of it. Where will you go?" "Raymond's letting me stay with him. But Anna, there's something else. The FBI found documents about Raymond's trust fund from my father." My heart sank. "What about it?" "It's gone too. All of it. And the signatures. They're forged. Mine and Raymond's both." Emma appeared in the doorway, her face pale. "Mom?" "I have to go, Marcel." I hung up, turning to my daughter. "Honey." "Stop." She held up her hand. "I heard. More bad news, right? More proof that Grandma ruined everything?" Reuben stepped forward. "Emma, sometimes people we love—" "Don't." She whirled on him. "Don't try to make this okay. None of this is okay." She turned to me. "And you just had to push, didn't you? Couldn't let it go?" "Emma." "No. You planned that reunion to humiliate her, to expose her." "Well, congratulations, Mom. You won. Grandma's in jail, the family's destroyed, and I can't even go on social media without seeing our name dragged through the mud. I was trying to get justice for you. I never asked for this kind of justice." Tears streamed down her face. "I just wanted my mom back, the one who taught me that kindness matters more than revenge, the one who always said we rise above hate." Her words hit like physical blows. Reuben touched my shoulder, but I pulled away. "Everything I did was to protect you," I whispered. "No." Emma wiped her eyes. "Everything you did was to hurt her. There's a difference." The doorbell rang again. This time it was Raymond, looking exhausted. "The FBI's questioning Dad now," he said, without preamble. "They think Mom might have— God, I can't even say it. They think she might have been laundering money for some very dangerous people." Emma made a small, choked sound and ran upstairs. Her door slammed seconds later. "She's right, you know," Raymond said quietly, "about what this is doing to the family." "Oh, now you care about family?" I snapped. "Where were you when your mother was stealing your daughter's future?" "I should have seen it," he shouted. "I'm her son. I should have noticed something was wrong, but I was too busy with my new life, my new family, to see what was happening to my old one." Reuben stepped between us. "This isn't helping anyone. We need to focus on what comes next." My phone buzzed with another anonymous text. "Deborah's associates are asking questions. Watch your back." Raymond read it over my shoulder. "What associates? Anna, what haven't you told me?" Before I could answer, Emma's scream pierced the air. We rushed upstairs to find her staring at her laptop. "Someone posted Grandma's entire criminal record online," she choked out. "With pictures, security footage from casinos, bank records, everything." I looked at the screen. The post was everywhere, spreading like wildfire across social media. Comments ranged from mockery to threats. "I can't stay here," Emma grabbed her bag. "I'm going to Aunt Lacey's. Emma, please." "Don't follow me," she pushed past us. "I need space, from all of this, from you." The front door slammed for the second time that day. Raymond ran his hands through his hair. "I'll make sure she gets there safely," he said, heading after her. Left alone with Reuben, I finally let my walls crumble. "What have I done?" I whispered. "You exposed the truth," he said gently. "But maybe Emma's right. Maybe the cost was too high." My phone buzzed again. This time it was Marcel. "The FBI found something else, something worse. They're bringing in Deborah for more questioning. Anna, I think we're all in danger. I showed Reuben the message, my hands shaking. Whatever's coming, he said, taking my hand. You don't have to face it alone. But looking at Emma's empty room, at the chaos I'd helped unleash, I wondered if being alone might be exactly what I deserved. The revenge I'd planned had turned into something darker, more dangerous than I'd ever imagined. And now my daughter, the person I'd done all this for, couldn't even look at me. The courthouse buzzed with tension as we gathered for Deborah's bail hearing. Emma sat between Raymond and me, her first time speaking to me in 3 days. All rise. Deborah entered in handcuffs, her designer clothes replaced by a prison jumpsuit. She looked smaller somehow, older. Her eyes scanned the gallery until they found Emma. The mask cracked completely. "Wait," she called out suddenly. "I need to confess something." The judge leaned forward. "Mrs. Williams?" It wasn't just gambling. Deborah's voice trembled. I was helping them move money, clean it. They said they'd hurt my family if I didn't. The courtroom erupted. Emma grabbed my hand, squeezing tight. "Order!" The judge banged his gavel. "Who threatened you, Mrs. Williams?" Before Deborah could answer, the courthouse doors burst open. 2 men in expensive suits strode in, followed by their lawyers. Anthony. Marcel's face went white. And Victor. I recognized them from photos in the FBI file. Casino owners with suspected mob connections. The same men from the anonymous tips. "Deborah, darling," Anthony's voice oozed fake concern. "Are you unwell? Saying such strange things?" "Don't," Deborah shrank back. "Please." "Mrs. Williams," Victor spoke smoothly. "Perhaps you're confused. Stress can do that." "She's not confused." Marcel stood up. "I found the letters, the threats, the photos of our family being watched." "Dad, sit down," Raymond hissed, but Marcel continued. "You used my wife's gambling addiction to force her into laundering money, then blackmailed her with threats against our grandchildren." Emma's grip on my hand tightened. I looked at her face. She was terrified, but her jaw was set in a familiar, determined way. "Grandma," she called out clearly, "tell the truth, all of it." Deborah turned, tears streaming down her face. "I was weak. The gambling. It started small, but then I lost more than I could repay. They offered to clear my debts if I helped them, said they'd hurt Emma if I refused." "Your Honor," Anthony's lawyer stepped forward. "These are baseless accusations. I have proof." Deborah's voice strengthened. Account numbers, recordings, everything. Victor's pleasant mask slipped. "You recorded—" "Order!" the judge commanded. "Bailiff, secure those men. Mrs. Williams, are you prepared to make a full statement?" "Yes." Deborah straightened her shoulders. "I've destroyed enough lives trying to protect myself. It's time to make it right." The next hour was a blur of revelations. Deborah detailed years of money laundering, naming names, providing evidence. The FBI agents scribbled notes furiously. Anthony and Victor were led away in handcuffs, their threats echoing through the courthouse. "You're dead, Deborah. Your whole family's dead." Emma trembled beside me. I wrapped my arm around her, and for the first time in days, she didn't pull away. "I'm so sorry," Deborah sobbed, looking at us. "The college fund, I didn't gamble it away. They took it, said it was insurance." "Insurance?" Raymond demanded. "To keep me cooperative. They knew hurting Emma's future would destroy me more than any physical threat." I felt sick. All this time, I'd blamed Deborah completely, never considering she might have been a victim too. "Your Honor," the FBI agent stood, "given Mrs. Williams' cooperation and the clear evidence of coercion, we recommend protective custody and a reduced sentence." The judge nodded. "Agreed. Mrs. Williams, you'll be moved to a secure facility. Your family will receive protection until these men stand trial." As they led Deborah away, she stopped before us. "Anna, you were right to expose everything. I was too scared to do it myself." "Grandma," Emma stepped forward. "Why didn't you tell us? We could have helped." Pride, shame, fear. Deborah's smile was bitter. "Take your pick, but watching you all fight for justice, it gave me courage, even if it came too late." Marcel approached his wife. "It's not too late to do the right thing." "The right thing," she whispered. I forgot what that meant so long ago. The bailiff led her away. We stood in the emptying courthouse, the weight of everything pressing down. "What happens now?" Emma asked quietly. "Now," Raymond said, "we stick together, as a family." "Protection details outside," the FBI agent approached. "You'll all need to be careful until the trial." I looked at my daughter, remembering how this started, with my desire for revenge against a woman I thought I understood. "Mom?" Emma's voice was soft. "I get it now. Why you pushed so hard. You knew something was wrong." "I knew the money was gone," I admitted. "But I never imagined—" "None of us did," Marcel said. "We all failed to see what was happening. Failed to help her when she needed us most." My phone buzzed one last time. Unknown number. "Anthony and Victor won't go quietly. Watch your backs." I showed the message to the FBI agent, who nodded grimly. "We'll increase security. This isn't over yet." Looking at my family, Emma, Raymond, Marcel, all of us shaken but standing together, I realized he was right. This wasn't over. But at least now we were facing it together, with the truth finally in the open. The morning sun streamed through Stanford's admissions office as Emma signed the final paperwork. After everything, she was actually here. "That's the last form," the advisor smiled. "Welcome to Stanford." I blinked back tears as Emma hugged me. "We did it, Mom." "You did it," I corrected. "The scholarship committee saw your strength, not just your grades." "The essay about family redemption probably helped," she grinned. "Who knew Grandma's story would get me into college after all?" My phone buzzed, a message from Marcel. "Deborah's testimony finished. Anthony and Victor going away for 20 years minimum. She gets 5, with possibility of early release." "Good news?" Emma asked, seeing my expression. "The best kind." I showed her the message. Justice finally, the real kind. We walked across campus, enjoying the California sunshine. My catering business had expanded to the West Coast, thanks to Ruben's management skills. He'd insisted on handling the expansion himself, letting me focus on family healing. "Dad's plane lands in an hour," Emma said. "He's bringing Grandpa to help move me in." Raymond and Marcel had grown closer through all this, father and son finding common ground in protecting what mattered most. "Have you read Grandma's latest letter?" I shook my head. The weekly letters from prison had become Emma's private connection with Deborah, a chance for both to rebuild what was lost. "She's teaching financial literacy classes to other inmates," Emma said softly. "Says it helps her feel useful again." We reached Emma's dorm building just as Raymond's taxi pulled up. Marcel emerged first, looking younger than he had in months. "There's my college girl." He hugged Emma tight. "Ready to make this place yours?" Raymond grabbed boxes from the trunk. "Where's your roommate from again?" "Portland," Emma said. "She's arriving this afternoon." As we carried boxes upstairs, I noticed Emma had packed the family photo from last Christmas, all of us together at the prison visiting room, even Deborah in her gray uniform, smiling genuinely for the first time in years. "Mom?" Emma touched my arm. "You're thinking too hard again." Just remembering where we started, how angry I was. "We all were." She set down a box. "But anger didn't fix anything. Understanding did." Raymond appeared with the last load. "Speaking of understanding, Deborah's lawyer called. The restitution payments are starting next month." "I don't want her money," I said firmly. "She insists." Marcel joined us. "Says it's part of making amends. Not just the college fund, everything she took from everyone. Besides," Emma added, "she's writing a book about gambling addiction and financial fraud. The advance is already in escrow." A commotion outside drew us to the window. A family was arguing about dorm arrangements, their voices rising. "Reminds me of us," Emma said quietly, "before everything changed." "We're still changing," I replied. "That's not a bad thing." My phone buzzed again. Ruben sending a photo of our new San Francisco location. The caption read, "Ready whenever you are, boss." "You should go," Emma said, reading over my shoulder. "The business needs you too." "You need me more." "Mom," she took my hands. "I'm okay. We're all okay. Better than okay, actually. We're honest now. Real. Raymond cleared his throat. Speaking of honest, I have something to say. We turned to him. I was wrong to stay away all those years, wrong to let Mom handle everything without questioning it, wrong to not be there for Emma more. Dad, let me finish. He straightened. I'm moving to San Francisco, taking a job here to be closer, if that's okay with everyone. Emma hugged him fiercely. Marcel wiped his eyes. Family stays together, he said gruffly. However we can. A knock at the door revealed Emma's roommate and her parents. Normal people with normal problems, starting a normal college journey. Hi, Emma stepped forward. I'm Emma. Welcome to our room. As the families mingled, I watched my daughter navigate her new life with grace and wisdom beyond her years. She'd learned hard lessons about trust, forgiveness, and the complicated nature of justice. She's going to be amazing, Raymond murmured beside me. She already is, I replied. We all are in our own way. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Deborah. Thank you, Anna, for fighting for the truth, for helping me find my courage, for letting Emma teach us all how to be better people. I showed the message to Emma, who smiled softly. Reply back, she said. Tell her we love her. Tell her we're healing. Tell her we're family, the real kind, not the pretend perfect kind. As I typed the response, I realized the revenge I'd sought had transformed into something far more valuable. Redemption. Not just for Deborah, but for all of us. Emma hugged me suddenly. I love you, Mom. Thanks for never giving up. On you? Never. No, she whispered. On all of us. On what family really means. Outside, the California sun painted everything in shades of possibility. We had survived the storm, emerged stronger, truer to ourselves and each other. It wasn't a perfect ending, but it was real. And real, we'd learned, was better than perfect any day.
The crystal glasses clinked as my mother-in-law's perfectly manicured nails tapped against them, demanding attention. My stomach clenched. I knew that look in her eyes. A toast. Anthea announced to our family gathered around the dining table, to my son's wonderful achievement at the firm. She paused, her gaze settling on me. And to Sydney, who I'm sure will make an excellent housewife now that she's settling into married life. I'm Sydney Craig, and 6 months into my marriage, I was already failing at being the daughter-in-law Anthea wanted. The weight of her expectations pressed against my chest like a stone. Actually, I said, forcing a smile, I have some news of my own. The Mumbai Chronicle offered me a position as a junior reporter. The silence that followed was deafening. Emery, my husband, reached for my hand under the table and squeezed it. At least someone was on my side. How interesting, Anthea said, her smile never reaching her eyes. Though I'm sure you'll reconsider once you and Emery start thinking about children. I don't plan to give up my career, Anthea. Journalism is my passion. Passion doesn't build a home, dear. She turned to her daughter Aurora, who sat quietly across the table. Remember when Aurora gave up that silly photography hobby? Now she's focusing on what truly matters. Aurora's eyes met mine briefly before dropping to her plate. I'd seen her camera hidden away in her closet, gathering dust. Mom, Emery intervened. Sydney's brilliant at what she does. You should read some of her articles. I'm sure they're lovely, darling. But we Craig women have certain responsibilities. Your father didn't build this empire, so his daughter-in-law could run around chasing stories. My best friend Kira's words from my wedding day echoed in my head. That woman's going to be a nightmare. I should have listened. I can manage both, I insisted. Many women do. Many women aren't Craig women, Anthea replied smoothly, taking a sip of her wine. Now, who would like dessert? Later that night, as Emery and I got ready for bed in our apartment, the tension finally broke. I'm sorry about Mom, he said, pulling me close. She's traditional. Traditional? She's practically Victorian. I buried my face in his chest. Do you remember our wedding day? When she gave that speech about molding me into a proper Craig woman? She means well. Does she? I pulled away to look at him. Because it feels like she's trying to erase everything that makes me. Me. Give her time. She'll come around when she sees how talented you are. My phone buzzed. A text from Ren, my editor at the local magazine where I freelanced. Story approved. Deadline next week. This could be your big break. Speaking of talent, I showed Emery the message. I got the green light on that corruption piece I told you about. His face lit up. That's amazing. See? This is why you can't give up. You're meant for this. Try telling that to your mother. Maybe we should invite her to dinner, just us. Let her see the real you. I laughed. The real me? You mean the one she's been trying to suppress since day one? Sydney. I know. She's your mother. I sighed, sitting on the edge of our bed. But I can't keep pretending to be someone I'm not. This job at the Chronicle, it's everything I've worked for. Then take it, Emery said firmly. I'll support you, whatever Mom says. I looked up at him, this man who stood between two worlds. His mother's traditional values and his wife's modern ambitions. Promise? Promise. He kissed my forehead. Besides, who knows? Maybe Mom will surprise us. But as I lay in bed that night, watching Mumbai's lights twinkle through our window, I knew better. Anthea Craig didn't do surprises. She did expectations. And I had just declared war on every single one of them. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Ren. By the way, heard through the grapevine that Blaze is back in town. Might be competing for the same story. Perfect. Just perfect. My first love and biggest rival from college now thrown into the mix. As if dealing with Anthea wasn't complicated enough. I turned off my phone and closed my eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. Tomorrow I'd start my new job at the Chronicle, step into the newsroom and prove to everyone, especially Anthea, that I could be both a Craig woman and a journalist. Let the games begin. London? I nearly choked on my coffee. You can't be serious. Emery paced our living room, his tie loosened after a long day at the office. It's a huge opportunity, Sydney. The firm wants me to head their European division. And your mother just happened to suggest this to the board? I set my mug down harder than intended, coffee sloshing onto our coffee table. She's looking out for us, he said, but wouldn't meet my eyes. Think about it. London's amazing for journalism, too. I just started at the Chronicle. I grabbed my laptop, pulling up the draft of my corruption story. Look at this. I'm investigating corporate fraud at one of Mumbai's biggest tech companies. This could be huge. The doorbell rang, saving Emery from responding. My heart sank when I opened the door to find Anthea, immaculately dressed as always. Surprise. She breezed past me, air kissing Emery's cheeks. I brought dinner, and the London property listings you asked for, darling. I shot Emery a look. He'd already asked for listings? Actually, Mom, Emery started. We haven't decided. Nonsense, it's practically settled. Anthea spread the glossy brochures across our dining table. This townhouse in Kensington would be perfect for starting a family. My phone buzzed. A message from Ren. Source willing to talk. Meeting tonight. Crucial for the story. I have to go, I announced, grabbing my bag. Work emergency. Anthea's smile tightened. More important than family dinner? It's my job, Anthea. A job you won't need in London, she replied smoothly. The Craig family has connections with all the right social circles there. I turned to Emery. Are you going to say anything? He shifted uncomfortably. Mom's right about the opportunity. Unbelievable. I headed for the door, but Anthea's voice stopped me. You know, dear, I gave up a promising career in dance for this family. Sometimes sacrifice is necessary for greater happiness. I spun around. Is that what you tell Aurora about her photography? The room went silent. Even Anthea looked shocked at my outburst. I'll be late, I muttered, hurrying out before anyone could respond. The cafe where I met my source was crowded, but I spotted Kira immediately at our usual corner table. You look like hell, she said as I collapsed into the chair. Anthea's trying to ship us off to London. I ordered an espresso, then lowered my voice. Where's the source? About that. Kira glanced toward the door. Don't freak out. Blaze walked in, looking annoyingly handsome in his pressed shirt and journalist badge. My stomach dropped. You're the source? He slid into the seat across from me. Surprised? I've been working this story for months. Of course you have. I started gathering my things. I'm not interested in your leftovers, Blaze. Even if it involves your father-in-law's company? I froze. What? The tech company you're investigating? Craig Enterprises is their biggest investor. He pulled out a USB drive. Everything's here, but I want shared byline. Why are you helping me? Because unlike some people, I believe in the story more than the glory. He smirked. Usually. My phone buzzed again. Emery. Where are you? Mom's upset. Please come home. Take it, Blaze said, sliding the drive across the table. But decide fast. Story breaks in 48 hours, with or without you. I stared at the drive. If what Blaze said was true, this story wouldn't just rock Mumbai's corporate world, it would blow my marriage apart. Sydney? Kira touched my arm. You okay? No. I pocketed the drive. But I'm going to do my job anyway. When I got home, the apartment was dark except for Emery's desk lamp. He looked up as I entered. Mom's gone, he said quietly. She left the brochures. I'm not going to London. Sid, no. I pulled out the USB drive. Your father's company is involved in my story. Did you know? His silence was answer enough. Were you ever going to tell me? Or was London just a convenient escape plan? It's complicated, he said. Dad's not directly involved. That's not the point. I ran my hands through my hair in frustration. Your mother orchestrated this whole thing to protect the family name, didn't she? She's trying to protect you too, he said softly. Once the story breaks, I don't need protection. I need support. I need my husband to stand with me, not plot my exit strategy with his mother. Emery stood, reaching for me, but I stepped back. I'm staying at Kira's tonight, I said, heading to our bedroom to pack a bag. I need to think. Sydney, please. You know what hurts the most? I paused at the door. I actually believed you when you said you'd support me. Guess your mother was right about one thing. Sometimes sacrifice is necessary. I just never thought I'd have to sacrifice my marriage for the truth. 3 days at Kira's turned into a week. I threw myself into work, writing under the pseudonym Arya Stone to protect my investigation. The USB drive from Blaze proved invaluable, though I hated admitting it. Your mother-in-law's calling again, Kira said, holding up my phone. That's the 3rd time today. I kept typing. Let it ring. And Emery's texted 6 times. I can't deal with them right now. I gestured to my laptop screen. The story's almost ready. Look at these financial records. They've been siphoning millions through fake contracts. Sydney? Kira closed my laptop. You need to go home. I am home. To your actual home. To your husband. The doorbell rang before I could argue. Kira answered it, and to my surprise, Aurora walked in, carrying a familiar-looking camera. Hey, she said softly. Can we talk? I nodded, following her to Kira's balcony. The Mumbai sunset painted the sky orange, reminding me of countless evening teas with Anthea where I'd bit my tongue and played the perfect daughter-in-law. Mom's on the warpath, Aurora said, fiddling with her camera. She's convinced you're trying to destroy the family. I'm trying to do my job. I know. She raised the camera, snapping a quick photo of the sunset. That's why I brought you these. She pulled out an envelope stuffed with photographs. They showed various Craig Enterprises events, but focused on suspicious meetings between executives and the tech company I was investigating. You've been documenting everything, I whispered. Photography's not just a silly hobby. Aurora smiled sadly. Mom made me stop showing my work, but I never stopped taking pictures. Why are you helping me? Because you're doing what I couldn't, standing up to her. She handed me the envelope. But Sydney, be careful. Mom's not just angry, she's scared. Of what? Of you exposing what Dad's company has been doing? Of losing control? Of everything changing? Aurora took another photo, this time of me. She made me give up my dreams. Don't let her take yours too. My phone buzzed. Ren. Story's going to print tomorrow. Last chance to put your real name on it. I can't use my real name, I said, mostly to myself. It would destroy Emery. Maybe that's not your responsibility anymore, Aurora replied. Later that night, I finally went home. The apartment was dark, but Emery was awake, sitting in our kitchen. You're back, he said, voice rough. Just to get some clothes. The story comes out tomorrow, doesn't it? He stood up. Mom's lawyer called. They're prepared to sue if... Sue? I laughed bitterly. For reporting the truth? For defamation? For breaking confidentiality agreements you signed when we married? I never signed anything. Check the wedding paperwork again. He ran a hand through his hair. Mom thinks of everything. I started toward our bedroom, but he caught my arm. Wait, he said. I found an apartment in London. We could leave tonight. Start fresh. Run away, you mean? Let your father's company keep stealing? Let your mother keep controlling everyone's lives? I'm trying to save our marriage. By helping them bury the truth? I pulled away. That's not saving anything, Emery. That's surrender. A key turned in the lock. Only one other person had a key. Anthea walked in, perfectly composed despite the late hour. I thought I heard voices, she said. Sydney, dear, you're looking rather tired. London would do wonders for your complexion. Stop it, I snapped. Just stop. I know what you did with the wedding paperwork. I know you're trying to silence me. I'm trying to protect this family. Something you seem incapable of understanding. By forcing Aurora to give up photography? By making me choose between my marriage and my integrity? By ensuring we survive. Anthea's composure cracked. Do you think I enjoyed giving up dance? That I don't see Aurora's talent? But survival means sacrifice. No, I said, suddenly calm. Survival means growth. Change. Evolution. Everything you're fighting against. My phone buzzed one final time. Ren. Deadline in 1 hour. Your name or the pseudonym? I looked at Emery, then at Anthea. The story runs tomorrow, under my real name. Then you've made your choice, Anthea said coldly. Yes, I replied, heading to the bedroom to pack. I choose truth. I choose integrity. I choose to be someone Aurora can look up to, instead of another cautionary tale about dreams sacrificed on the altar of family reputation. Sydney, please, Emery called after me. We can figure this out. But as I packed my bags, I knew there was no figuring it out. Tomorrow, my name would be on a story that would shake Mumbai's corporate world. Tomorrow, I would stop being Anthea's project and start being myself. Tomorrow, everything would change. The morning my story broke, Mumbai seemed to hold its breath. I sat in the Chronicle's break room, watching my phone explode with notifications while Ren paced nearby. It's been shared 10,000 times already, she said, refreshing her screen. The tech company's stock is plummeting. My hands shook as I scrolled through messages. Kira had sent 17 texts. Aurora, 3 missed calls. Emery, nothing. Sydney? Blaze burst into the room, waving his phone. Have you seen the latest? Your father-in-law just resigned as CEO. Before I could respond, Ren's assistant rushed in. There's someone here to see you, Sydney. Says she's your mother-in-law's sister? Marley walked in, looking nothing like Anthea in her paint-splattered jeans and messy bun. Hey, kid. Got a minute? We found a quiet cafe across the street. Marley ordered espresso while I picked at a croissant. So, she said, you did it. You actually stood up to my sister. How bad is it? Bad enough that she's called a family emergency meeting. Good enough that 3 other whistleblowers have come forward. She leaned forward. But that's not why I'm here. She pulled out her phone, showing me an old newspaper clipping. A young Anthea in a dancer's pose, Headlines praising her upcoming debut at the National Theater. "What happened?" I asked. "Father died. Family business was failing. She gave up everything to marry into the right family, save everyone from ruin." Marley sighed. "Sound familiar?" My phone buzzed. A message from Aurora. "Mom's losing it. Come to the house, please." "I can't face them," I said. "Can't? Or won't?" Marley stood up. "You wrote the truth, Sydney. Now live with it." The Craig mansion looked smaller somehow as I walked up the driveway. Aurora met me at the door, camera hanging around her neck. "Thank God," she whispered. "Mom's in the study with the lawyers. Emery just got back from London." "London?" "He flew out right after your story broke, trying to salvage business relationships." The study door opened. Emery walked out, looking exhausted. He froze when he saw me. "You're here," he said flatly. "Aurora called." "Did she tell you Dad's under investigation? That our accounts are frozen? That Mom—" He stopped, running his hands through his hair. "Why didn't you warn us? Would it have changed anything?" "We could have prepared. Instead, I spent 3 days watching everything fall apart." Everything was already falling apart. I stepped closer. "Your father was stealing millions. Your mother was suffocating everyone's dreams. How long were we supposed to pretend everything was fine?" The study door slammed open. Anthea emerged, lawyers trailing behind her. "Well," she said, voice ice cold, "if it isn't the journalist of the hour." "Anthea, no." She held up a hand. "You've said quite enough in print. Now you'll listen." She dismissed the lawyers with a wave. "Do you know what your story has cost us? Not just money or reputation, but family. Aurora's engagement was called off this morning. The scandal, you see." Aurora gasped. I hadn't known she was engaged. "Mom," she protested. "That was my choice. I ended it because he tried to make me stop photography, just like you did. And you!" Anthea turned on her daughter. "Sneaking around with that camera, helping her gather evidence." "Evidence that was true," Aurora shot back. "Truth?" Anthea laughed bitterly. "Truth is what we make it, dear. I learned that when I gave up dance, when I married your father, when I built this family from nothing." "You didn't build it," I said quietly. "You buried it. Buried yourself, buried Aurora's talent, tried to bury me. I tried to save you from yourself, by forcing me to choose between my integrity and my marriage, by showing you what really matters." "What matters?" Emery's voice cut through the argument. "How about this?" He held up his phone, showing a news alert. "Craig Enterprises fraud. More victims come forward." "These are real people, Mom," he said. "Real lives ruined because we all kept quiet. Because we chose family reputation over right and wrong." Anthea sank into a chair, suddenly looking older. "Everything I did for this family." "No," Aurora said, raising her camera. "Everything you did because of your own regrets." The camera clicked, capturing Anthea's moment of vulnerability. For once, she didn't object. My phone buzzed again. "Ren. Magazine wants your story, cover feature. Your journey from wife to whistleblower." I looked at my broken family. Anthea, lost in her fortress of control. Emery, torn between loyalty and truth. Aurora, finally finding her voice through her lens. "The magazine can wait," I said, putting my phone away. "We need to talk. Really talk. About everything." "Why?" Anthea asked, voice barely a whisper. "Because that's what family does," I replied. "Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts." "Tell me about the dance recital," I said, setting a cup of tea in front of Anthea. We sat in her private sitting room, surrounded by old photographs I'd never noticed before. Young Anthea in a tutu. Anthea at the bar. Anthea soaring across a stage. "It was to be my breakthrough performance," she said, touching one of the frames. "Principal dancer, Romeo and Juliet." "What happened that night?" Father had a heart attack, hours before curtain call. Her fingers trembled around the teacup. The company director said I could postpone. But the hospital bills... Aurora sat cross-legged on the floor, documenting everything with her camera. Click, click, click. Put that thing away, Anthea snapped, but without her usual venom. No, Aurora replied quietly. This needs to be remembered. Marley arrived then, carrying a dusty box. Found it in the attic. Thought you might want these. She pulled out yellowed newspapers, playbills, dance shoes worn to shreds. Anthea's hands shook as she touched them. The night I met your father, she said to Emery, I was wearing these shoes. Last performance before. She swallowed hard. Before I became Mrs. Craig. Why didn't you ever tell us? Emery asked, sitting beside her. What was there to tell? I made my choice. Sacrifice for security. She looked at me. Sound familiar? Except you're trying to force that same choice on everyone else, I said. You're making Aurora hide her talent, trying to make me give up my career. I was protecting you. From what? Following our dreams? Being fulfilled? From disappointment. Anthea stood suddenly, photographs scattering. From having everything you love ripped away because of responsibility. From becoming... She gestured to herself. This. The room fell silent except for Aurora's camera. Click. Mom, Emery said softly. Is that why you pushed the London move? To stop Sydney before she got too invested? I saw the signs, Anthea whispered. The late nights, the passion in her eyes, the way she lit up talking about her work. Just like I used to. Marley pulled something else from the box. A letter, edges worn. Remember this? Your acceptance to the Paris Opera Ballet. You were accepted to Paris? Aurora lowered her camera. 2 weeks after Father died. Anthea took the letter, hands trembling. I burned the original. How did you... I saved a copy, Marley said. Thought someday you'd want to remember who you were, before you started forcing everyone else to forget who they are. My phone buzzed. Rang again. Magazine deadline tomorrow. Are you in? The magazine wants me to tell my story, I said. The whole story. To drag our name through the mud again? Anthea's walls started rising. No, I set my phone down. To tell the truth about sacrifice, about choices, about how trying to protect people from pain sometimes causes more damage than letting them risk getting hurt. They'll paint me as the villain. Only if you keep acting like one. I moved closer to her. But what if instead we tell a different story? About a brilliant dancer who gave up everything for her family. Who got so scared of seeing history repeat itself that she forgot something important. What's that? That sometimes the biggest act of love is letting people choose their own path. Aurora raised her camera again, but this time Anthea didn't object. Click. I found your old dance videos, Aurora said. In the attic. You were magnificent. I was free, Anthea corrected, touching another photograph. Until I convinced myself that freedom was selfish. Emery picked up one of the playbills. You could teach, you know. The dance academy downtown is looking for instructors. Don't be ridiculous. At my age... Mom, he interrupted. Stop deciding things are impossible before trying them. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Blaze. More whistleblowers coming forward. Stories getting bigger. Need your insight. The magazine deadline is tomorrow, I said. But I won't write it without your blessing, Anthea. She stared at me for a long moment. Why ask my permission now? You didn't before. Because this isn't about exposing corruption anymore. It's about healing. And I can't help heal this family if I'm still trying to hurt you. Marley pulled one last item from the box, a DVD labeled Final Rehearsal, Romeo and Juliet. What do you say, sis? She asked. Ready to remember who you were? So you can finally see who everyone else is trying to be? Anthea looked around the room. At Aurora with her camera, at Emery holding the playbill, at me with my phone full of deadlines and stories. For the first time, she seemed to really see us. "Yes," she whispered. "Put on the video." As young Anthea danced across the screen, Aurora kept photographing, documenting not just the past on TV, but the present in the room. The walls coming down, the truth breaking through. Click, click, click. "You're really going through with this?" Kira asked, adjusting my blazer as we stood outside the Craig mansion. "A high tea? After everything?" "Anthea's idea," I said, clutching my advance copy of the magazine. "She wants to face things properly, whatever that means." The garden was set up exactly as Anthea liked. Bone china teacups, silver service, tiny sandwiches arranged just so. Mumbai's elite mingled awkwardly, clearly unsure whether to acknowledge the scandal or pretend everything was normal. "Sydney." Blaze appeared, notepad in hand. "Quite a turnout. Mind if I cover this for the Chronicle?" "Actually," I started, but Anthea's voice cut through the crowd. "Mr. Phillips, welcome." She glided over, every inch the perfect hostess. "Please do stay. I believe you'll find today's events newsworthy." I shot her a questioning look, but she was already moving away, greeting other guests. Aurora circulated with her camera, documenting everything. "Where's Emery?" I asked when she passed by. "Getting Mom's surprise ready," she whispered, then disappeared into the crowd. The guests settled around elegant garden tables. I found myself seated between Kira and Marley, directly across from Anthea. The magazine burned in my lap. "Friends, family," Anthea stood, tapping her teacup gently. "Thank you for coming. I know recent events have caused quite a stir." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. "Many of you are wondering why I've gathered you here today. Some might expect damage control, or perhaps a public denouncement of recent revelations." Her eyes met mine. I held my breath. "Instead, I want to share something else." She nodded toward the house. Music began to play, the Romeo and Juliet ballet score. Emery emerged carrying a projector screen. Behind him, Aurora set up a laptop. The video from the attic began playing, young Anthea dancing, full of passion and promise. 30 years ago, I made a choice," Anthea continued as her younger self twirled on screen. "I chose security over passion, safety over art. And then I spent decades forcing others to make the same choice." Gasps rippled through the crowd. This wasn't the Anthea they knew. "My daughter-in-law recently wrote an exposé that shook our family to its core. But she also wrote another story." Anthea gestured to the magazine in my lap. "Sydney, would you share it?" Hands trembling, I opened to the cover story. "The Price of Silence: How 3 Generations of Women Found Their Voice." "Read it," Anthea said softly. "Please." I cleared my throat. In a mansion in Mumbai, 3 women waged silent wars with their dreams. A dancer who gave up her passion to save her family. A photographer whose lens captures truth in shadows. A journalist seeking stories in the spaces between duty and desire. This is not a story about corruption, though corruption brought it to light. This is a story about the price we pay for silence and the power we find in breaking it. The crowd was silent. On screen, young Anthea continued to dance. "My daughter Aurora," Anthea gestured to where Aurora stood with her camera, "will be hosting her first photography exhibition next month. And she took a deep breath, "will be teaching dance at the Mumbai Academy of Arts, sharing what I should never have hidden." Marley reached for her sister's hand. For once, Anthea didn't pull away. As for Sydney, Anthea turned to me. "She has shown me that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is tell the truth, even when that truth hurts. Especially when it hurts." Emery appeared at my side, squeezing my shoulder. The gesture said everything we hadn't been able to say to each other since the story broke. "The magazine hits stands tomorrow," I said, standing to join Anthea, "along with announcements of full restitution to everyone affected by the corporate fraud. Right, Emery?" He nodded. "Every penny." "And the London position?" someone called out. "Has been declined," Emery replied. "My place is here. supporting my wife's career just as she supports mine. Blaze was scribbling furiously in his notepad. Anthea actually smiled at him. "Write what you see," she said. "All of it. No more hiding." The video ended with young Anthea's final bow. Present-day Anthea watched herself, tears in her eyes. "I spent so long being afraid," she said, mostly to herself. Afraid of losing control, of seeing others make my mistakes, of facing my own regrets. "And now?" I asked. She straightened her shoulders, every inch the dancer she used to be. "Now, I think it's time for a different kind of control. The kind that comes from letting go." Aurora raised her camera one last time, capturing the moment. Anthea and me, standing together. Emery beside us. Marley wiping away tears. The truth finally set free. Click. "Well?" Anthea picked up her teacup, a real smile playing at her lips. "Shall we have some tea? I believe we have quite a lot to talk about." The tension broke. Conversations erupted. And somewhere in the garden of secrets and silence, something new began to bloom. 5 minutes until your first class," I said, watching Anthea adjust her dance shoes in the studio mirror. 2 weeks had passed since the high tea. The magazine story had gone viral, but this moment felt bigger somehow. Anthea returning to dance after 30 years. "The leotard still fits," she said, smoothing invisible wrinkles, "though I doubt I can still do a proper grand jeté." "You don't have to be perfect," I reminded her. "Just authentic." Young girls in tutus started filing into the studio, whispering when they recognized us from the magazine cover. Aurora set up her tripod in the corner. She was documenting Anthea's journey back to dance for her exhibition. "Mrs. Craig?" A tiny ballerina tugged at Anthea's sleeve. "Is it true you almost danced, Juliet?" Before Anthea could answer, Emery burst into the studio. "Sorry I'm late. Didn't want to miss this." "You came?" Anthea's voice wavered. "Of course." He hugged her. "When have I ever seen my mother dance?" The piano started playing. Anthea took her position at the bar, back straight, chin lifted. For a moment, I saw the young dancer from the video, full of dreams and fire. "First position, girls," she called out, her voice strong and clear. I slipped out, leaving Aurora to capture the moment. In the hallway, I found Marley hanging old performance photos. "She's really doing it," Marley said, adjusting a frame. "Never thought I'd see the day." "A lot of things I never thought I'd see," I replied. "Like you and her talking again." "Time heals, so does truth." She handed me a photo. "Speaking of which, how are things with Emery?" I studied the picture. Young Anthea and Marley at a recital, both smiling. "We're working on it. Counseling helps, so does not having to hide anymore." My phone buzzed. Ren. Follow-up story idea. Interview with Anthea about her dance academy? "Already ahead of you," I texted back, attaching Aurora's photos from that morning. Music floated from the studio. Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake. I peeked in to see Anthea demonstrating a turn, not quite as graceful as her younger self, but somehow more powerful. "Mom, that was beautiful," Aurora called out, checking her camera screen. "It was sloppy," Anthea replied, but she was smiling. "Again, girls. Watch the arms." "Sydney." Emery appeared beside me. "Can we talk?" We found a quiet corner in the Academy's cafe. The same cafe where weeks ago I'd chosen truth over family loyalty. "I've been thinking," he said, fiddling with his coffee cup. "About London, about everything." "Emery, let me finish. I was wrong. Not just about London, but about choosing silence over honesty. About not standing up to Mom sooner. We were all wrong in different ways," I said. "Even me. I could have handled the story differently." "No." He reached for my hand. "You did exactly what needed to be done. Look at Mom now. She's teaching dance. Aurora's planning her exhibition. Dad's making amends. All because you were brave enough to break the silence." Through the window, we could see Anthea's class letting out. Girls streamed from the studio, chattering excitedly. Anthea emerged last, looking tired but alive in a way I'd never seen before. "Sydney," she called out when she spotted us. "Come here a moment." In the studio, she went to the piano and pulled out an old envelope. "I found something you should have." Inside was a newspaper clipping, my first byline from college. "How did you get this? Emery used to send me everything you wrote, even when I pretended not to care." She touched the yellowed paper gently. "I recognized your talent. It scared me." "Because it reminded you of yourself?" "Because I knew I couldn't control it, just like dance couldn't be controlled." She moved to the bar, assuming first position. But some things aren't meant to be controlled. They're meant to be set free. Aurora appeared with her camera. "Mom, can I get a few more shots? The light's perfect." "Actually," Anthea said, "why don't you give the camera to Emery? Come join me at the bar." "What?" "You have a dancer's build. I've always noticed." Anthea patted the bar. "Let's see if photography isn't your only inherited talent." I took the camera from Aurora, watching through the lens as mother and daughter moved through basic positions. Their reflection in the mirror showed matching expressions: concentration, discovery, joy. "Click. Sydney," Anthea called out. "There's room for one more." "Oh no," I laughed. "I'm a writer, not a dancer. And I'm a dancer who became a housewife who became a teacher." She held out her hand. "Sometimes the best stories are the ones that surprise us." Emery took the camera from me, grinning. "Go on, I want to document this." So there we were, journalist, photographer, and reformed control freak, learning basic ballet positions while Emery captured it all on film. And somehow, in that sunlit studio, we found a new kind of family rhythm. Click, click, click. Ready? Aurora adjusted the lighting one last time, her exhibition opening just minutes away. The gallery walls showcased her journey. Candid shots of Anthea teaching dance, moments from my investigation, the high tea revelation. But the centerpiece was different. A massive portrait of 3 generations of Craig women taken in the dance studio. "The prodigal daughter returns." Blaze walked in, press badge hanging from his neck. "Nice turnout." "You're actually invited this time," I teased. "No need for the badge. Old habits." He gestured to the crowd gathering outside. "Half of Mumbai's media is here. You've started quite a revolution, Sydney." Before I could respond, Kira rushed over. "They're here." Anthea entered first, wearing a dress that echoed her old ballet costumes. Behind her, Emery helped Marley carry in a covered frame. "Last addition to the exhibition," Aurora explained, taking the frame. "Mom's idea." The gallery doors opened. People flooded in, drawn immediately to the wall-sized photos. I heard gasps as they recognized faces, pieced together the story told through Aurora's lens. "Sydney?" Anthea touched my arm. "Come with me?" She led me to a quiet corner where the covered frame waited. "Before Aurora unveils this, I want you to see it first." She pulled away the cloth. There, beautifully framed, was my original article about the corporate fraud, side by side with the magazine cover story. Between them, a handwritten note. "To my daughter-in-law, who taught me that the truth doesn't break families. Secrets do." "Anthea." My voice caught. "I was wrong about so many things," she said. "But I was most wrong about you." "Everyone," Aurora called out. "If I could have your attention." The crowd gathered. I noticed familiar faces. Ren from the Chronicle, my sources from the investigation, even some of Anthea's ballet students. "This exhibition is called Breaking Silence," Aurora began. "It's about truth, family, and the courage to be who you really are." She unveiled the final piece. "And it's dedicated to 2 women who showed me that courage firsthand." Applause filled the gallery. Emery appeared beside me, slipping his hand into mine. "There's something else," he whispered. "Watch, Mom." Anthea moved to the center of the room, her dancer's grace evident in every step. When my daughter-in-law first exposed our family's secrets, I thought she was destroying us. Instead, she forced us to rebuild something better. She gestured to the photos. These images tell a story of transformation. But transformation isn't just about changing. It's about returning to who you were always meant to be. The gallery lights dimmed. A spotlight appeared. Music began to play. Romeo and Juliet. "Oh my God," I whispered, recognizing the piece from her old rehearsal video. Anthea took position. The crowd fell silent as she began to dance. Not the complex choreography of her youth, but something simpler, more powerful. A dance of redemption. Aurora raised her camera. Click. When the music ended, there wasn't a dry eye in the gallery. Anthea held her final pose, tears streaming down her face. "Brava," Marley called out, starting a wave of applause. "I have an announcement," Anthea said once the clapping subsided. "The Academy is expanding. We're adding a photography studio and a journalism workshop. Because art isn't just about dance, it's about every voice that needs to be heard." She turned to me. "Sydney, I hope you'll teach some classes. Show others how to tell their truth." "Only if you'll teach me more ballet," I replied, making her laugh. "Deal." The evening continued, but the real story was in the quiet moments. Aurora showing her students around the exhibition. Emery proudly explaining his mother's dance to guests. Marley and Anthea planning the Academy's expansion. "Quite a change from family dinners with perfect table settings," Kira commented, handing me a champagne flute. "Everything's changed," I said, watching Anthea demonstrate a dance position to an entranced group of journalists. "Not everything." Emery joined us. "Some things just got stronger." My phone buzzed. Rang again. But this time I didn't check it. Whatever story was breaking could wait. The real story was here, in this room, in these moments of truth and reconciliation. "Sydney," Aurora called. "Family photo." I joined them under the centerpiece portrait. Journalist, dancer, photographer, all of us exactly who we were meant to be. No more perfect table settings or polite silences. Just truth, in all its messy, beautiful glory. "Everyone ready?" Blaze held up Aurora's camera. "Say truth." We laughed, the sound echoing through the gallery like music, like freedom, like family. Click. The camera captured us mid-laugh, imperfect and real. And in that moment, I realized something. Sometimes the happiest endings aren't endings at all. They're beginnings, disguised as revelations. They're truths, waiting to be told. They're stories, waiting to be lived.